as it gets. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Happy Sunday. This is the 4-year anniversary of the YouTube channel and why you should watch Buffy. And I lost chat. There we go. Whoa. Camera is so pasty white man drapes. I don't follow. You need a flat cap and pipe in your mouth to complete the look. Here, we'll go ahead and... Oh, I can make myself look thin. That's okay. This is a channel of truth. Not really. So, hi, everybody. Wait, 2 Ians. How are you doing? It's Sunday night. Jessica has to work tomorrow. Audrey has to work tomorrow. We do have Jack. Hi, Jack. Wave to everybody. This is going to be a pizza party, but I don't think I'm going to be able to eat on camera. No one wants to see that anyway. So, tonight, I figure I would just chat with you guys. We'll watch the first season videos together. I can talk to you about, thoughts on that. And it's kind of incredible. When I made that video, I really had no expectation that 4 years later I'd still be making videos about Buffy. And that's not a complaint. Hold on one sec. Let me get into direct communication with my Vice Admiral. Hang on one sec. So, it wouldn't be one of your streams without alcohol. Wait, hold on one sec. I bet he has no pants on. Well, you're not going to get to find out because I don't want to get banned off YouTube. Ian, hey Eddie, how you doing? Love your season 1 videos. They're so short, brief, informative. Well, I'll tell you all about that. But first of all, I have champagne. I'll open that up. Let's get a video going, shall we? I think Jack may have gone. Jack may have left me. You can see how prepared I am. But I'm very happy with the fact that this week, between Jack and myself, we managed to publish 3 videos. That's the first time in quite a long time that we were able to get that done. Feeling all kinds of... before the stream gets too crowded, I just want to say best wishes for your rapidly approaching pivot to full-time. Thank you, Michael. Channel is what fully convinced some of my family members to watch Buffy and Angel. Joy of sharing that. By the way, those of you who have been to the normal bad decisions... Oh, Jack, there you are. I missed you. Hi, Cal. As of right now, but I'm here. By the way, those of you who have been to the normal bad decisions, this is it. About the three videos this week. I'm glad, Amy. That's going to be the goal for next week as well. We already got started today on the next episode of Angel, and I have a few ideas, and we have Jack's series. Oh, yes, and we launched a Discord server. That was all Jack. I'm always afraid of opening champagne bottles. Hold on. Yes, let's point it at the glass door. That's a good idea. I need Audrey. Audrey. I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy. Ha! Oh, boy. Perkiness commentary. Manifestations, you have such a wonderful voice. Your insight on Buffy has made me reevaluate my favorite show. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Am I excited about WTW? What would WTWTA? I should know all the acronyms, but you're going to have to break that one out. Hi, Nina. Here we go. Let's get a little. 4 years. And I met Jack 3 years ago. I don't know if we've talked. I'm sure we've talked about that story. I've told that story. I'm kind of an intensely private person, which is bizarre. And Jack just spammed me with messages about loving certain videos. And then one late night, we had a conversation and have been good friends since. There's a lot more romance and crying than that, but you get the idea. Opening champagne bottles reminds me of the opening of the biscuits tin. All right, so let's... Where the Wild Things Are. Am I excited about Where the Wild Things Are? No, not really. I don't enjoy a slaughter. And that episode's not really a slaughter. It's not even good bad. It's just dull, except for Behind Blue Eyes. So, August 19th, 2014 at 12:40 p.m. 371,000 views. Also without conscious. Warm. The warm champagne thought. I don't know if this kind of thing is interesting to you guys, seeing the statistics. But here, let's check the audio. And again, those of you who have been to the other Bad Decision streams, this is what tonight is. I get to hang out with you guys. Gonna drink some champagne. We're gonna watch some old stuff, and we're gonna talk Buffy. Okay, don't know why the accent. Whoa. That's a million Ians. There we go. Mahler and Jack in it. Will you sing Behind Blue Eyes for us? It depends on how much champagne and how late the evening goes. Am I the only one who actively doesn't hate? Here's the thing. I'll tell you. I've learned so much during this my stint as the Buffy academic. Buffy emotional academic? I don't know. Anytime you see a question, I just lost it. Anytime, Ruben, I appreciate you asking the question. Anytime you ask yourself the question, am I the only one, or am I the one who yada yada? The answer is no. Originally, when I started out, I think one of the things these early season videos not suffer from, but it took me a long time to find my own voice. And I think that decisively was late season 2. A lot of people think the Lie to Me video was it, but it definitely was not. But part of that was I made a classic mistake of assuming that because I thought something was bad, it was bad. And like you would think a 34-year-old person would be past that. But when I watched episodes like I, Robot You, Jane, and The Puppet Show, and I mean, I couldn't stand them. And so the reviews are written from that standpoint. And with each review, I sort of, where I was attempting to be cute, like attempting to be cute assassinator reviewer, I guess, or trying on that persona. There's always people who were like, but I really like this episode, sort of defensively. And every single time I felt like a jerk, and I started thinking, what I hadn't clarified for myself was what the channel is for, what we're here for, what what the guides are for, and it was during, we have them. I'll show you the moment where, and anyone who's listened to me ramble on and on about this before knows, but there was a moment where I clarified and understood for myself what I wanted the channel to be and what I wanted the guides to be. And it was, I'm sure, Boris, don't spoil it. Hey, Jack. No worries. Man, I guess I'm nervous not having anyone here. I miss you, Cal and Jess and Audrey. And And Sir Jackalus, here we go. This is the one.
I only have eyes for you is weird. It's
I'm sorry.
carrying.
James picked me.
Full of consequences.
And this happened. This is an episode where I didn't. This has happened to me so many times with the guides where I didn't have a particular affinity for an episode one way or another, and then I wrote the guide for it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of pretty. I kind of like it. And this moment was the moment that sort of changed the direction of the guide for good.
Let's consider the gender-swapped lovers, and on the night of the Sadie Hawkins dance, no less. Buffy very specifically takes James's role in the murder-suicide reenactment. James's teacher was older than him, as Angel is older than Buffy. Her relationship to James is a suggestion of her own guilt over Angel's death, and the ripple of consequences that have come since. Her vehement lack of empathy when describing James is only an indication of how she's feeling about herself.
James destroyed the one person he loved the most in a moment of blind passion. That's not something you forgive.
As Xander pointed out, James was fixated on Buffy, but not from a combative sense, but because he identified with the guilt that she was carrying.
James picked me. I guess I was the one he could relate to.
The key to understanding the episode is realizing it doesn't matter whether we think Buffy did anything wrong, she thinks she has.
Was I not good?
I didn't know what would happen until after. I swear I would have told you.
So it was me.
This is a stock clip from YouTube, by the way.
So disappointed in me.
Just a little more fallout from my love life.
And Buffy is looking for the same thing James is.
He wants forgiveness.
But she can't find it because she doesn't think she deserves it, so why should she allow herself to be happy? And then the dialogue between Angel and Buffy provides her this moment she needs.
You thought I stopped loving you. I loved you with my last breath.
Whether it was Angel speaking the words or some spirit inside of him, this tiny echo of the man she loved is a moment of reprieve, a breath that gives Buffy the space and peace for one of the most difficult acts of compassion. The act of forgiving yourself. Yeah, I like this episode.
That moment changed the guide. That was for me sort of, there's the academic discussion of the episodes, there's and the philosophical implementation that was added to the episodes, but then there's what it means to me. Well, what it means to Buffy, and by association me, and I think by association everyone. And that's the thing that that a lot of the episode guides are searching for, is like, I always want to, connect the dots and talk about the lore and all of that, but I'm also looking for why is media important? Why are these shows important? And so season 1, I don't remember that. I plead the fifth. By the way, scrolling back a little bit, Amy, thank you for all the work in keeping $10 donation. Thank you for all the work in keeping the content coming. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do when you devote your attention to the channel. You and me both. The past month and a half have been a combination of pants-wetting terror, and I'm about to jump out of the airplane levels of excitement. So, but expanding on what the channel has been doing, and developing my voice even further, and educating myself to and writing more personal live action stuff. I mean, the list of ideas I've had for years has been endless, and I want to open with a live action piece that to me is very significant about going full time and doing this in the first place. But anyway, I appreciate the donation. Thank you so much. I like this episode. We'll talk about that later, Jack. Congrats on 4 years. Undertaker Punk says, you were the person that finally got me ordering my Chosen Collection DVDs and started my love of Buffy. I can't thank you enough. Thank you. Howdy, howdy. Hey, Clara, welcome. This is again, everyone. This is pretty much going to be it. Don't have my co-hosts tonight because it's a school night. Soon that won't matter, at least for my end. But I was thinking we'd just watch videos and I'll talk with you guys and have some champagne. So, let's watch the one that got this whole shebang started. August 19th, 2014. Now, I'm just curious. Let's check this out. So, it's been such a weird, even 4 years, we're going to go over 21,000 subscribers probably next month. But the numbers early on were so fun. Revolution. Watch time. So how much does Google cover? Let's back way up. Every peak, it's like a heartbeat. Those are video releases. But look at a video release now, this year, versus 2016, 2015, those peaks. It's so much fun. So backing up, there is why you should watch Buffy. So I released it on August 19th. And then, like many people, so August 19th, the first day, it got 3,700 hours of views. That was an attempt on Reddit, and then this was another time that I posted it to Reddit. And I didn't really understand Reddit or self-promotion or how to do anything right or properly. I still don't. And then this little lump right there is another post to Reddit. But these are, initially when I'd publish a video, it would get 100 views in a week. And that's still amazing. That's still, it's just interesting how different things are and how much they've changed. And I never intended, well, we'll talk about it. Let's go through them. Chat is going very fast. I apologize if I miss any of your comments. I just want to say welcome, everyone. It's been an amazing 4 years. It has changed my life. I say that without hyperbole, without inflation. My life is so much different as a result of the channel in these last 4 years. And, it just means the world to me. So, thank you. Joe Does Stuff. Hi there, Ian. I know I've only been subscribed for a year, but I wanted to congratulate you on 4 years. I love Buffy and hearing your thoughts on the episodes. Thank you, Joe. We need Season 5 reviews. I have many awesome, fun ideas for Season 5. I think they're awesome. But really, that's all I'm ever looking for is, like, if I'm entertained, then I'm done, and we put it out. Good luck with the full-time. I'm sure it will be a huge success. We can only hope. Miss Cunning Linguist, me and a friend are starting an analysis series of Supernatural, inspired in large parts by this channel. Hope you see that as a compliment, not stealing your brand. Not at all. When I first, that's another thing. I'm going to do I've been asked to do a behind-the-scenes video, which for this kind of work is very weird, because the video could be 12 hours of this, just me sitting at this desk, but I'll try and make it more interesting. But early when I started out, the first thing I did was I searched everywhere for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I subscribed to those channels. And then I searched for articles about the best online critics, the best people doing the best criticism, the best YouTube channels. And then I started following and trying to understand why they were successful. And I took from the ones that I loved at the time. At the time, I was very into zero punctuation. My video game habit has not been able to keep up because I've been devoting all my time to work and YouTube. But he has a very fast speaking style, and it allows him to condense a lot of information to a certain amount of time. And that first year that I was doing the videos, I was very fixated on the idea of 3 minutes. I had read somewhere that after 3 minutes, most people stop watching YouTube videos. And so I was if a video was over 3 minutes long, I got frustrated with myself and tried to condense and condense and condense. And in the original descriptions for the videos that go over like 5 minutes, I was apologizing, saying, I guess the old shtick was Buffy finds herself in jeopardy, and I'm trying to figure out how long I can make you sit through a video. And I just sort of realized that the normal rules really don't apply to this audience. We are a hardcore fan micro group, I guess. 20,000 on the internet is probably a micro group. And if there's something good to say or entertaining to say or an exploration we can do together that's going to dig something up, then it's worth it. And I discovered through trial and error that, you guys were in for it. Yahtzee, Zero Punctuation, his speed and cadence is very entertaining, and I love it. But what ended up happening for me was that I could use speed as a way of highlighting certain things. So during summary sections, it's very fast. During jokes are all about the timing. There's so many jokes that are incredibly stupid. But with a fast cut right at the end of it, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't diminish in entertainment. And then when you get to the serious sections or the somehow, though, a talk like this seems academic and in the end unnecessary. What really matters is, does the poetry speak to you? Then I can sort of drop down and use that as a way to emphasize. The video is as long as it needs to be, right, Jack? So my point with all of that, and I apologize, I lost your comment in the sea of wet floppy naked angel. Yeah, that's a joke that you just go by quickly. Mislinguistic. I started by looking at other people and trying to do the things that they did well, like great artists steal. And then, it took 30, 40 videos before I decided I had found what my voice was. And then I looked to foster that and grow that and so forth. But you still, nothing begins in a vacuum. Creation is sort of that act of combining your inspirations from all over the place. So, happy to help. Yahtzee's more about wordplay over speed. I feel that you nailed that. I agree with you, and thank you. It's still, there's still velocity to it, and I think he gets the same kind of value. He's much funnier, but love your guides, nice productions. Thank you, Garrett. You can't put a time limit on a good analysis breakdown. Well, the time limit is generally my attention span. Sean Albright, thanks for the wonderful content. Thank you. I appreciate the donation. Cheers, everyone. All right. Let's watch why you should watch Buffy.
I am a vocal fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which for a few reasons is an unexpectedly difficult job. There's the Mormon abstinent sparkle vampire starefest, that is Twilight. There's the show's unfortunate and slightly embarrassing to say out loud name. Then there's the gothy, depressed stereotype vampire mythology seems to carry with it.
Why are you fighting this? It's what we want.
So already I think that the Twilight section is dated. The thing about Twilight I don't believe is timeless, and Buffy is or will be, I think. It will age and has aged, and there are bits of it that have aged, but I think including Twilight, while it was still appropriate for the time, is less relevant now. And that's a way in which this video will not age well.
It's our chance for immortality.
All of this lately makes the show a hard sell to my friends who haven't seen it, because...
Sorry about that. The sound was down. Yeah, I was trying not to breathe into the microphone while we watched the videos. What I said was already... it wouldn't be one of my productions if something wasn't going wrong. The chat's still screaming on my end. We're back up. I won't turn it down again. You'll just have to happen to listen to my heavy breathing. The suit is very tight. already I think that the Twilight reference is dated. Twilight, I don't believe, is timeless. This video won't be either, but just in consideration, one of the things about sort of flash pop culture media experiences that don't have a lot at their core is that they will fade. And unlike Buffy, which will still age and has aged, and some of the philosophy and feminism has aged poorly, it is imbued with something timeless. So I think maybe including Twilight in this was a mistake. But it did make it funny.
Because they think Buffy is for teenage girls. Which, well, it is. But that's certainly not all it is. Like most great entertainment, it can be enjoyed on multiple levels. The point of this video is I'm tired of explaining to my friends why they...
Boy, you can really hear the difference in audio quality. Originally, I was recording... I think this video was recorded on a laptop microphone. And then I upgraded to a Blue Snowball mic, and then the Yeti, and now I'm using the Bayer Dynamics we were using in the soundproof booths. So, and this mic picks up everything. You can hear the crickets outside when I have guests over who are watching a movie right now. Have you seen the YouTube video that crosses Buffy and Twilight? Many times. Usually if there's something Buffy related, people have tweeted it at me, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Trust me, it's not dated. I still need to convince my friends Buffy is not more Twilight crap. Well, that's good. Reasons the queer subtext and text in the show and his slight crush on Spike, probably part of a conversation I missed. Anyway,
They need to watch this show. I thought I'd just record my Buffy sermon once and for all and be done with it.
boy, I hope that you can hear the difference in performance, too. That's definitely something that I try and pay attention to now.
Alright, so, in brief, Buffy ran from 97 to 03 and was created by writer-director Joss Whedon.
There's lots of little, like, I'm not going to, I should stop, pointing out all the things I notice, but this is a ridiculous editing. Yes, I love this shot, and I've used it many times, but text over text, I should have faded that. These are the last nitpicks, I promise.
Was created
But this is every single video in my head, just so you know.
by writer-director Joss Whedon. Whedon said he got the idea for Buffy from countless horror movies where the witless blonde
Yes, Lucy says, and be done with it, snickering. Here we are 4 years later.
wanders into an alleyway and gets eaten by the monster. He thought, wouldn't it be cool if the blonde walked into the alley, the monster attacked her, and she kicked its ass? The show follows Buffy, the latest in a line of young women known as vampire slayers. There's only one slayer at a time, and they've been around for 1,000 years. Each time the present slayer dies, a new one is gifted superpowers for the battle against vampires, demons, and other baddies. Like previous slayers, Buffy is aided by a watcher who guides, teaches, and trains her. Unlike predecessors, Buffy surrounds herself with friends.
You're the Slayer, and we're like the Slayerettes.
The show seasons are serialized. Each season has one overarching bad guy, called the Big Bad. Buffy ranked 41st on TV Guide's list of 50 greatest shows of all time, second on Empire's 50 greatest shows of all time, and was listed on Time Magazine's 100 best shows of all time. It features some of the greatest episodes of television ever made. So why is it so hard to get people to watch it?
Anyone who's been watching for a little while, I have the developed language, the shorthand, spoiler language. This shot's definitely one of them, where I'm disclosing a whole bunch of information in a single shot to people who have watched the show without giving anything away, and finding these moments in all the videos has been a bit of a trial and error. The use of the Buffy bot clips as Buffy proper is hilarious, both from Joss and from you. The queer question was, is Ian a part of the queer community?
So why is it so hard to get people to watch it?
No?
Twilight is about a catatonic teenager who falls for a creepy vampire boner that sparkles in the sunshine.
This is the only video with the word boner in it, I believe.
Its underlying message is the only thing that matters is finding a man and submitting to him. Edward Cullen stalks What's-Her-Nuts, watches her sleep for months,
I like watching you sleep.
Do you do that a lot?
Just the past couple of months.
corners her, abuses her, and she's totally fine with it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, on the other hand, is about a girl with superpowers who punches people in the face. You don't have to be a fan.
Also, I don't really know the format here. So what I did was I condensed the argument for Buffy into the opening. And then I went to Amazon. The way I wrote the essay was I went to Amazon and searched by worst reviews and started reading the criticisms that the people had on Amazon. And I was like, oh, this is garbage. So I wrote down all the questions or all the things that people were saying as this show sucks. And those became the framework for the essay. I'm not sure that's the best way to write an essay. It's not exactly championing the material, but it did create the framework to write the whole thing. Luke says, can you please get cast as a watcher in the new reboot of the Buffy show? You're so wise. Thank you, Luke. Undertaker Punk says, have you seen Sunnydale HD's remaster clips of Buffy? It's amazing how Fox won't do it, but the fans can. Well, I mean, the despecialized edition of Star Wars, I mean, it's not a rare phenomena for sure. And now those are all Disney's. 230, stop by, say hi and good night. Hello, Shannon. Good night, Shannon. Girl with superpowers who punches people in the face is my favorite line from you. Well, we're thinking about creating a merchandise store for the website, which is currently invisible. And maybe that would be one of them.
Fan of the genre to get something out of the show. Mostly the monsters are metaphors for specific obstacles that we all face growing up. For instance, within the show's mythology, vampires are soulless creatures that don't age. According to Whedon, the soul, as it's depicted in the show, serves as a moral compass. Lacking that, vampires are driven by purely selfish motives, which means they're incapable of moral development. In other words, they can't grow up.
You were my sire, man! You were my Yoda!
Things change.
Not us! Not demons!
So Buffy being the Slayer allows her to kill vampires, metaphors for her personal demons that could prevent her from growing up. Anyway, the point is the monsters are not an end in and of themselves, but rather they are the medium for considering complex topics of morality, isolation, sexuality, and meaning.
Also, they are things for her to punch in the face. Parker! That's my favorite part!
The show started as a mid-season replacement for Savannah, and generally had a small budget. Part of the reason all the season finales feel like series finales until around season 6 is because Whedon was always nervous about cancellation. To me, most shows primarily fall into two categories, cinema and theater. We have different expectations for a movie than we do a play. No one goes to the Merchant of Venice, looks at the stage and says, this totally doesn't look like Venice, this place sucks.
So, that's a point of contention there. Hold on one second. I have received...
Likewise.
First of all, I've received very little manifestations. Your series means more to me than I can say. Thank you. And I appreciate the donation. Cheers. The series, the episode guides has received... I apologize, guys. I don't get a lot of hate mail. Occasionally you get, someone presently high on Jordan Peterson coming in and dumping on things like Helpless and some of the more feminist ones. I have had to ban people. I get people who have yelled at me and called me horrible names because the guide has taken too long. But there's two instances where I felt like someone... where I was written a piece that I was like, okay. And one of them was someone accused me of slut shaming during one of the audio commentaries that we did way back in the day. And the other one was for using gay as a pejorative in this video that has been seen by 371,000 viewers. And of course, my thought is that I'm not actually saying this. I'm using the voice of someone idiotic to parody, to create parody. But I have thought about this joke over and over again, and I essentially I'm mocking the idiot that would, first of all, use that language, and the other one would say something stupid like this at at a play. But this video, it's something that has stuck in my head for a long time since publishing this video. And again, early on, 3 people had seen this. At this point, this is a relatively ubiquitous video within the Buffy online community. So that little bit now is considerably more significant than it was when I was some dude making this on a laptop using his microphone. Using his... The Gambit was obviously meant to be commentary on people who are dumb, sarcastic rhetoric. Anyway, it's just something I thought this is what tonight's about. Is I just thought I'd share with you some details about these videos, what they mean to me, and sort of what I get out of watching them. So here we go.
Venice looks at the stage and says, "This totally doesn't look like Venice. This place sucks." Likewise, not many people question the realism of 6 friends with retail jobs living in a 1,000-square-foot apartment in downtown New York that's missing a fourth wall. Anyone who wants to appreciate any show needs to be able to put production issues aside. Buffy isn't about the monsters. It's about her path to becoming an adult. Besides, are the effects any more egregious than...
On the house.
What are you going to do? Moisturize me?
With acid.
I think I was looking for just another example of a TV show, and so I picked Terra Nova. I don't know that it lasted more than 1 season, so maybe that wasn't the best choice. I could have used more Star Trek, actually, going with the original series, or it's okay.
The rest of the book, to serve men, it's a cookbook.
Point there is obviously certain things are timeless, even if they're campy and ridiculous.
Well, yeah. Remember, mid-season replacement on a shoestring budget.
And this is this is where the comment, but I like the first season, sort of repeatedly. And I went, oh, my opinion is not the only opinion, which I think is useful, especially as someone who's doing criticism, where not getting locked into your own perspective. I mean, being able to, if someone goes to a horrible movie and says, I loved it, I think it's if you're someone who is interested in writing criticism or making content like this, it's important to understand why. I'm not saying that season 1 is a terrible movie. I've actually found quite a bit of love for season 1 after I made these videos, but there you go.
The first season is rough. Okay, fine. Really, there are only a couple of first season episodes you need to watch. But if you do go that route, I'm working on an episode-by-episode guide, which should be up here soon, if I don't get an attack of the lazy. Get through the first season.
Or many attacks of the lazy.
And
sorry, hold on. I got too clicky. I never intended to do... At this point, I when I was saying episode by episode guide, I was still thinking one video covering all of season 1.
suggest the second. If you give it a good effort, and by the end of the second season you still think it's not a show for you...
That's fine. I get that, but you're wrong and I hate you.
And that's the first video. That joke probably makes the video. I liked half of the first season. First season is good. I actually think Witch is one of my favorite episodes to watch. MPAC says you should have a win a date with Passion of the Nerd. Tracy says, really glad season 1 was not my first introduction to Buffy. Anyway, that's the video that started it all. So what was that, August? Oh, and later that month, I did the first one. And this was originally, I did this for the first season and a half, where and again, I think that joke's about timing. The timing of the edit. And that's one thing. The one thing the music outro really allows for are those sort of very quick last one-liners, and then into that. It's suddenly that poppy, not poppy, but loud riffy guitar, and that has afforded me quite. I've been able to cheat quite a few number of outros simply because of that, where it's like, even in the Superstar video, grab a detail from the episode, counseling for troubled kids, wonder who else you would have met there, and then going right into the music, and for some reason that works as a sort of positive, upbeat outro every single time. I think season one on a whole is different, a statement of the show. It does have clunkers. Panda Bear says, Angel in season 1, especially the first few episodes, confuses me. He seems like an entirely different character. The whole dark mystery, I didn't say I was your friend thing. Yeah, I don't think that, Matthew. Cheers, thank you for the donation. Matthew says, what Buffy should have had more of are gremlins, goblins, trolls, orcs, elves, dwarves, gnomes, gargoyles, and other folklore. Well, it's interesting, too, how it starts to slip in, right? Like the dragon in The Gift, and then, Angel Not Fade Away is a full-on attack of The Lord of the Rings. So, has anyone from the show seen any of your videos about it yet that you know of, Ian? Not that I know of, and frankly, I'm good with that. I've had 3 run-ins with the writers, and they've all been bad. Anyone who's a regular on the live stream has probably heard the question. The first one was with Jane Espenson. So I was writing the Earshot review, and there are some parallels in Earshot to, I'm a huge Next Generation fan, parallels in Earshot to an episode of, anyone who's seen the guide, you know what I'm talking about, but there are parallels in Earshot to Tin Man, which I believe is in season 3 of Next Generation. A psychic who can't turn their power off comes on board the ship. There's a being lonely and in pain trying to kill themselves, and the psychic who can't turn their power off saves the being trying to kill themselves. And the psychic is played by Harry Groner, who was the mayor during season 3 when Earshot was. And so I tweeted at Jane Espenson, hey, I saw some parallels between these two. I was curious if it was intended as homage or what exactly it was. Sort of what your thinking was. And she replied, now this is like, I think I'm 8,000 subscribers at that point. I mean, the subscribers don't matter. I'm a fan. I'm always a fan when it comes to Buffy. And that's the thing about these videos is there is some criticism, there's some analysis, but they're fan videos too. We're connecting stuff, we're drawing lines that maybe weren't intended, but we as fans get to do that because the art is finished. But anyway, Jane Espenson replied, I had linked the IMDb article in the tweet, and she replied, I thought I'd seen every episode. I don't steal my ideas. Now, being a fan, imagine that you had just inadvertently accused one of the creators of one of the most cherished pieces of art in your life of plagiarism, or rather that she interpreted things that way. I was like, oh, sorry, love your work. And the other time it happened was, someone had asked a really wonderful question, and it was if it was the door slammed, Boris. Her DVD commentary for Earshot was odd. She was very touchy about that episode. That's interesting. Maybe she was having to. Hey, I get trolly comments all the time. I'm very gun shy when it comes to comments. In when I put out why you should watch, or What Wild at Heart Means to Me, which is probably still one of the most personal, significant videos that I've done. The next day, I publish at 1 in the morning, went to bed. The next day, there's just a sheet of lovely, kind comments. This is what I needed to hear today. So on and so forth. And one dude says, "You sound like a fucking neckbeard." And of course, that's the comment. That's the guy that's in my head for the next 3 hours. So, I mean, it's very common that she probably thought I was trolling or whatever it may be. She didn't know who I was. The other one that happened was I was about to sit down and do a... By the way, I see a lot of ats. I'll read those in just 1 second. I was about to sit down and do a live tweet session. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, whenever I write a new script, I sit there and I watch the episode and I take screenshots and add notes in a chain to Twitter. And it's kind of like the edit sessions. It keeps me going. It keeps me focused on what I'm doing. And it's like everything else that I try and do here, which is about community and us sharing the experience together. I said at the end of graduation day that all I was looking for was someone to share the love with, and that's absolutely true of most of the things I try and do. But anyway, before I started this live tweet session, someone asked a wonderful question. I don't remember the exact wording of it, but he said, "Do you think that the trio in any way were intended to stand for the oracles in Greek mythology?" And I thought that was great. And so I copied it and sent it to David Fury and Marty Noxon. And I said credit, I hope I credited the person who asked the question. And then I went on with the live tweet session for the episode and just lambasted it. It was snarky, and the episode was She. And the episode was written by David Fury and Marty Noxon. And the next day, I got up after having filled my Twitter feed with negative commentary about She, and they had both replied to the tweet. And I was horrified. Now, I don't know that they came to you can reply to a tweet without going to the person's Twitter feed. But it was still one of those moments where I kind of went, within this community, especially when interacting with any of the actors or the writers, or I've met Emma Caulfield and met a bunch at WhedonCon. You kind of have to decide. You kind of have to separate you can't be a fan and a critic at the same time. I mean, you can be both, but not simultaneously. And that was kind of the lesson that I took away from that experience, where it's like, nothing I said about She I regret. It was said in a way that was intended to entertain the people on Twitter, which means it may have been unkind, but not rude, I think. I hope. But anyway, so those have been my two interactions. That's a long-winded answer to the question. Has anyone from the show seen my stuff? No, I don't think so. Jonathan Woodward might have, but other than that, I don't know. Phoebe says, "Happy anniversary. My favorite thoughts of yours remain the ruminations on existentialism and lie to me. Thanks a million for your work." Thank you, Phoebe. Enjoying a film crew training class right now, and my instructor loves the Buffy movie and shows in class. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit here. Boy, chat just snaps me to the bottom. I think I just missed a couple. Undertaker Punk, the expecting outro is one of the best you've ever done. I don't remember what I did for that one. The stingers are fun. I like coming up with the stingers. Jack says she totally took that the wrong way. She's talking about Jane Espenson. It doesn't matter, man. I mean, you're not wrong, but miscommunication. Phoebe says, my favorite happy... sorry, I went back a little too far. Kind of reminds me of somewhat embarrassing myself in front of James Marsters. March Noir 44 says, I wanted to comment on something you said earlier regarding the short length of the videos at the beginning of the episode guide. Watch time is a huge part of the algorithm. Yeah, well, even 4 years ago, the watch time wasn't revealed when I started. It was still views, if I remember correctly. Now we can see watch time, and statistically, even though my subscriber numbers are low, the channel does well because you guys watch to the end. And with the stingers, you guys oftentimes watch to the very end. So, yeah, definitely. Pandian says, reminds me of my first one-star review for my debut on Goodreads. Got a lot of praise, but that review, the world is ending and everything is awful. Exactly. I mean, I think that's endemic to being someone who makes anything and puts it out for public consumption. I think there are some people who have armor that it just doesn't affect, but I don't think that's the norm. And I think 200. All right. So let's move on. That was why you should watch Buffy. And now the first video. So obviously, early on, I used to compress the two-parters into one video, and just regularly got requests not to do that. So I stopped. But what's amazing is Welcome to the Hellmouth and the Harvest. 4 minutes long. Yeah, things have changed. I'm pretty sure the Superstar video was 11 minutes for a relatively inconsequential compared to Welcome to the Hellmouth and the Harvest. Oh, I missed a donation. I'm sorry. Scrolling back. Oh, Matthew. Cheers. Thank you for the donation. And thank you for the help in chat. What do you think the Buffyverse is more inspired by, Dark Shadows or the Anne Rice novels? I don't see a huge influence from either of them other than the lore itself. I guess I would err on the side of Anne Rice to the question, simply by virtue of there being a kind of sexy teenage aspect to the show. Stupid sexy Spike and all of that. Also, I haven't seen Dark Shadows, so I'm not equipped to answer that question. I did drink. I will drink again, Tracy. You fun forcer, you. Oh, the balls guy. Yeah. Find it so weird 1920 movies can be remastered. Don't forget HD Trek. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Hellmouth and the Harvest. Again, for those of you who have been to previous bad decisions, this is not that. This is pretty much it. Me talking with you guys and us watching the season 1 guides together. 4 years, jeez. It has not. It's been such a crazy month between my job ending and going full time with the channel in 2 weeks and all of that I just have not been able to process it. Miriam says, "Happy anniversary, Passion of the Nerd. Thank you so much for creating this content. Your videos always make my week." Thank you. Thank you for watching. Kelt Van Cook, this is a great live stream. I'm going to have to finish everything later. Got to work. Either way, wanted to express my gratitude for the series and your work. Be seeing you. Thank you. And thank you for watching. Yay for peer pressure. Pour another glass. Cheers to you too, Matthew. All right.
Welcome to the Hellmouth and the Harvest are
I mean, the numbers are astonishing to me. This 57,000 views with 8 downvotes. We haven't broken double digits on this. It's nuts. We are a hardcore group.
must-watch episodes. The opening of Welcome to the Hellmouth serves as a bit of a mission statement for the show. This douche Bigelow...
One thing my friends pointed out early on is energy level. And boy, can I hear it now. Like, I'm enunciating and I'm speaking clearly, but there's no energy. What you really want to hear is someone who is enthusiastic about what they're talking about, even if it's in a weird sort of high-performance dialect. Why are we here? Variance in tone, speak, breathe, talk, Ian. Come on.
Bigelow sneaks into the darkened Sunnydale High School with Dexter's wife, and we know she's probably in trouble.
Maybe it's something.
Well, maybe it's something.
It's not funny.
Yeah, for serious, dude. Not funny. Darla even plays on that expectation before she's sure the coast is clear. Then she makes a snack out of him. Buffy intends to subvert your expectations. From there, it's mostly setup. We meet Buffy and her mom Joyce. Buffy is the Slayer and doesn't want to be. At first she walks out on Giles and his big book of the vampire, but after discovering Darla's leftovers, comes back in and flatly tells him.
I think I was trying to make a joke, an Andrew joke there, but I didn't actually say the word vampire correctly. So my first attempt at flash forwards didn't work.
Why she doesn't accept being the Slayer.
Prepares me for what? For getting kicked out of school? For losing all of my friends? For having to spend all of my time fighting for my life and never getting to tell anyone because I might endanger them? Go ahead.
That early synthy score is so late 80s, early 90s. Matthew Mann, $5 donation. Thank you. Your work is wonderful and very professional, refreshing, and admirable. To remember that Rupert Giles spin-off Ripper they were supposed to make. I do, and I think they just began the comic, which is something. I have not... a common question we get a lot is, have I read the comics? I've read half of Season 8 and half of Season 6. And... but I've read all of Tales of the Slayers, and Tales of the Slayers is amazing. We actually, hey, it's the anniversary. Why don't I read on stream what I want to perform as a video in Tales from the Slayers? Jack, is that a good idea or an amazing idea? We'll do that tonight. I'll read the selection to you. I don't know if I have a non-ebook copy of the book. But anyway, again, cheers and thank you for the donation.
Being the Slayer sets her apart. It isolates her from the life she wants. Chosen one, singular. It's an important theme in every season. We also meet Willow, Xander, Cordelia, and Harmony. There's a lot of symbolism in her relationships that just gets explicitly stated later on, but you can see it at play here already. Lastly, we meet Angel and the big bad for the season, the Master, played by Mark Metcalf.
You are all weak. You're all worthless and weak. Drop and give me 20.
More on them both later. The vampires as metaphors for adolescence thing is strong. Note Darla's Catholic schoolgirl outfit and the out-of-fashion vampire.
Look at his jacket. He's got the sleeves rolled up. And the shirt? Deal with that outfit for a moment.
It's dated.
It's carbon dated.
They are frozen in time. The show makes two alterations to common vampire mythology in its vamp face and dusting. Both changes were made for pragmatic story reasons. Whedon thought it would look weird to see Buffy killing other high school students who look like normal high school students. Vamp face means evil, and the dusting meant that the writers didn't have to come up with what to do with all the dead vampire bodies at the end of every episode. All in all, it's not a terrible start. There are some rough edges. The Master's Cave looks like a leftover set from a Meatloaf video.
And I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. No, I won't do that.
Both humans and vampires are guilty of some cringe dialogue. The fight choreography falls into the old problem of only having one bad guy run at the protagonist at a time, but I still think it's one of the most promising first episodes of a show. It's a bit like watching an orchestra tune-up. You can see they've got all the proper instruments to make good music. If you're feeling cynical, consider some of the first episodes of your other favorite shows.
Norman, how's it going? So you got dragged down here too, huh? How you doing, Fred? Yeah, excuse me, Fred. Oh, pardon my galoshes.
It's unbelievable.
This clip's so awkward because I let it play so long, but that's kind of the point.
How's the real estate business?
It's not bad. It's coming along. Why? Did you need something?
You handle any of that commercial real estate?
Except it's a flying space octopus with feather hands. So there's a... I'll work backwards. Channel Oberlin says, would you change any of this at all? Yeah, definitely. My editing style has changed quite a bit. For one thing, this is... one thing I've been talking to Jack about is pacing. This is paced incredibly poorly. And there's an error in the editing. Watch.
What?
So why did I cut the audio from the Next Generation episode and then switch to Xander's? I mean, the joke still works. The idea is that Xander just watched two space squids come up and touch each other and went, what? But from an editing standpoint, I should have had the audio from the Next Generation episode still playing underneath, so he says what, and it makes a lot more sense. But just generally speaking, pacing-wise, the last minute of this video is so off. It just doesn't feel natural or kinetic. It just doesn't move. The other thing that's interesting is there's no summary in this video. This is just a... Oh, no, there's a summary in the beginning.
Buffy is the Slayer and doesn't want to be.
And then it segues...
For my life and never getting to tell any...
Apart. It isolates her from...
The summary just dies in the first minute and segues into whatever. I mean, there's a challenge with doing this in that I've said before, some people have told me that this is such a great way to rewatch Buffy, or someone this leaves a comment that says, I love your summary videos, and they're not intended to be summaries. If I'm just summarizing content, then there's no reason for me to be doing that. But there's always been this fine line. That's something I noticed in this video, is the summary is gone. Sorry, chat's going super fast. Let me back up for a minute. Hit some of the people I missed. Again, there's a lot of people here tonight. I did not expect this number of people for the 4-year anniversary, but I appreciate it. What do you think of the unaired pilot? We watched it for a Bad Decisions live stream, and that replay exists somewhere. You can see the roots. Boy, was Willow miscast. She wasn't a poor actress, but she was miscast. And there's a bit I remember I've only watched it once for that stream, and obviously there was alcohol involved. But there's a bit on stage that was very constructed that was not in the actual pilot. That was interesting. Jen Firelight says hello and happy anniversary. Ian? Thank you, Jen. Welcome. Jennifer, season 4 kind of drags for me. What has your experience been like reviewing them for the guide? It has dragged. It's interesting that my experience... So, first of all, the Fox attack, where at one point I had 12 or 13 copyright flags going simultaneously. I was fighting all of them, but you can't fight more than 2 occurred at the beginning of season 4. And I had to just go, okay, they found a way to shut the channel down. Because they can kite. So I released a new video, and they can kite it 90 days into the future, because that's how long the copyright flagging process was taking. And then in February or March, it just stopped. They just stopped flagging me, and I didn't understand. And suddenly 10 copyright flags cleared up, or 7 all at once. Turns out Disney was trying to buy Fox's assets, and so Fox said, well, why should we invest money in cubicle farms of people flagging YouTube content? And is what I imagine happened, and so here we are. Generally speaking, though, and I was doing Angel simultaneously. This is the first season, so I'm doing double duty with the video creation because I'm doing 2 seasons. People have been like, well, season 3 came out rather quickly. Well, I wasn't doing double the amount of content then. So my experience of season 4 making the guides is that it has dragged and gone very slowly, which is coincidental because certain, like the back half of season 4 has that feeling as well. Great and amazing. Give them a little bit of a preview. Yeah, we'll do the, I'll read you guys the bit that I want to do as a video at some point. I still haven't figured out if it's kosher to do it because of copyright concerns. Did you know No Diggity asks, did you know Marty Noxon is the showrunner for the new show Sharp Objects with Amy Adams? I didn't. Krishna says, you say meatloaf like it's a bad thing. No, but it's certainly an indication of a certain amount of camp, I think was what I was indicating at the time. Chanel, I already did that. They're touching tips. They are indeed. All right, here we go. All right, let's move on to the next one. There was I hadn't really thought about formalizing the intro. And so every episode guide, before I started, I would spend time listening through the YouTube and Vimeo audio library for royalty-free music that I thought reflected or sounded like the episode in some way.
Which is a significant one in the Buffy lore. The characters and events are referenced at least once in every one of the 7 seasons. Interestingly, it also contains one of the few references to the not often spoken of movie. In 1992, Joss Whedon wrote the script for the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. It contained most of the same lore you're now familiar with. Buffy, played by Christy Swanson, is an airheaded teenage cheerleader at Hemry High School when a mysterious man who calls himself a Watcher comes along and tells her she is the Slayer.
Does Elvis talk to you?
The director turned Whedon's story into a broad comedy.
Ooh, ah, ow, ooh, ah, ah, ah.
Donald Sutherland kept changing and making up his own lines, and the movie was a critical flop. Also, Luke Perry.
Aziz.
How dare I? Also, Luke Perry? You mean Luke Perry. That's one I would change.
Light.
Aziz Light.
Whedon went on to be one of the writers on Toy Story before he was approached with the idea of turning Buffy into a television series. The show and the movie are completely different in tone and intent, but there are a few minor connections between the two. Principal Moody mentions Buffy just transferred from Hemry High.
Buffy Summers, sophomore, late of Hemry High in Los Angeles.
And the show references how Buffy used to be a cheerleader at her former high school.
It was cheerleading.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're taking that up again. It'll keep you out of trouble.
In which, Buffy attempts to recapture some of her pre-Slayer life by trying out for the cheerleading squad at Sunnydale, much to the alarm of Giles.
Instead of which you enslave yourself to this cult?
You don't like the color?
She makes first alternate behind Cordelia and followed by Amy, a girl who seems under an enormous amount of pressure to follow in the footsteps of her mother's high school career. Meanwhile, Xander gives Buffy a romantic gift and passes it off as unintentionally so.
Yours, always.
It came that way, really. They all said that.
Over a bubbling cauldron of split pea, we hear someone curse Cordelia, who promptly drives into traffic and is nearly hit by an overzealous UPS man. But the gang suspects it's Amy working the mojo and perform their first spell to prove it. Amy goes home and is clearly dominating and controlling her mother. She works a spell on Buffy, who in the midst of the spell's power tells Xander how she really feels.
Well...
You are totally and completely one of the girls. I'm not comfy with this.
Giles takes Buffy to confront Amy's mom, and they come to find out it's really Amy herself.
Amy?
That's why the show is called Witch, and not The Witch. It's a pun, get it? Giles gets the necessary equipment to reverse the spell before getting knocked out by an angry rebodied Amy's mom. Amy's mom tries to curse Buffy, but the spell backfires, and she...
There's the beginning of my... I don't want to say this character's name 50 times. I can't remember what their name is. It's Amy's mom. It's Amy's mom. Amy's mom. A newly re-embodied Amy's mom.
Spell backfires and she encases herself in her treasured trophy. Forever. Hopefully all the symbolism and growing up metaphors are obvious. The episode is about a parent...
They may be obvious, Ian, but the reason you're making a video is to tell people what they are.
Literally reliving their glory days through their child. Interestingly, this is the first episode without a vampire. I liked how Twilight Zone-y the fate of Amy's mom was. The Twilight Zone remix actually plays throughout the cheerleading scenes. And can we all take a moment?
Obviously, I need to give credit to Mark. Mark Field's book of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Myth, Metaphor, and Morality wrote these first season videos. Partly the reason why the way I got started was I was doing... people have been telling me for years that I should do voiceover work. There's not really a... I mean, I'm sure there are books. There's books on everything, but it you know, there's not a voiceover major in Colorado, as an example. And so one of the things I thought was, I'll just start doing it. And I had recently watched Buffy twice. I knew I had seen something significant. And so I went and bought Mark's book, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Myth, Metaphor, and Morality. read the whole thing. It changed my life, and I started writing these scripts, and I had just read it, and a lot of his text just sort of went directly in. People started watching. This video probably had 70 views after a month originally. People started watching, and I realized that what I had done was not kosher. And so I found Mark's his blog. I asked him if I could email him. He sent me his email address, and I said, hey, I read your book. It had a huge effect on me. I've started making these videos, and people are actually watching now. It was intended more as practice at the time, but here we are. What would you like me to do? At the time, the videos weren't monetized. Would you like me to shut it down? Whatever you like. And Mark went and watched the videos and said, you're going to reach way more people than my book will. Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. Find your voice, do what you need to, but keep going. And Mark and I talk every couple of videos. He'll send me an email, and we go back and forth. We went back and forth about Superstar quite a bit because of the stuff I omitted and something I missed in that review. But early on, Mark's book is in every single one of the descriptions. And slowly, I sort of, as people started to watch, I was like, okay, these have to be mine. I cannot do, even if he's cool with it, I can't do that. And so sort of made that effort. But these early ones are a house built on Mark's shoulders. Oh, Matthew, I sent you another super chat. Oh, yeah, I apologize, Matthew. I was just going to save comments for between videos. What is your favorite Buffyverse weapon and armament stakes, crossbow, sword? The scythe. Definitely got to be the scythe. And Gunn's hubcap axe in Angel. But thank you for the donation, Matthew. I appreciate it. I'm going to appreciate this scene again.
Guess what? I feel better.
So awesome! But having seen every season a few times now, this episode in hindsight feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. The opening is hilarious, and had the episode occurred in later seasons, it might have turned into a scathing critique of conformity, or a soul-searching exercise in the value of responsibility. But at this point in the series, we don't know the characters well enough, and instead get an axe-wielding, body-swapped mama, and a drunk Buffy throwing a cheerleader through a wall. Wait. I guess that's actually pretty cool, too.
Again, the music sort of making that cut work. There's no outro connections on this one. Jen, do you plan on remaking some of these videos? Maybe. We'll have to see more. What did I miss in Superstar? Jonathan wasn't punishing Buffy. That was a mistake. What I was trying to illustrate was that, first of all, the Slayer is a feminist icon. The Slayer is a feminist symbol. And by depowering the Slayer, there's some debate whether or not the spell is mind control, or he did it on purpose, or he was actually pulling her power, or whatever it was. But let's say at the base, he stole all of the experiences that made Buffy Buffy. So he received the Clash Protector Award. He stopped the Master. He did all of these things, right? It still makes Jonathan ripe for membership in the trio in season 6. That was kind of what I was sort of trying to get at in that video, and I missed it, and it's very frustrating to me. It did sort of reduce her to the status, a similar status as Jonathan in Earshot. I don't think that's wrong, but I don't think that it was purposeful. But the thing about Jonathan, so the trio in season 6 are all sort of misogynist icons. There's Warren, who is the outspoken misogynist. He is, and he doesn't care. I think Jonathan is the undiagnosed misogynist. He has sort of certain latent beliefs that he doesn't see once he diagnoses them, which is after the Katrina episode. He becomes sort of a better character. And Andrew is in love with Warren and insecure and not able to embrace his own sexuality. And so he sort of grasps at some of the more toxic, conventional aspects of masculinity, but they're all sort of like symbols for beta male misogyny. You may struggle to get a girlfriend. You may consider yourself the downtrodden. You may be lonely, but none of those things make you incapable of being a misogynist. And my thought was that either metaphorically or specifically, Andrew, I swap the two of them in my mouth constantly. Jonathan's spell, and by nature of him being undiagnosed, it really foreshadows his participation in season 6. But by virtue of trying to keep a schedule and trying to keep going and all of that, I got that wrong. Or rather, that was very unclear in the guide. Andrew was gay, wasn't he, Chanel? I definitely think so. And there are jokes that specifically seem to highlight that when Kennedy and Willow are making out on the couch, and Andrew says, "Well, this is amazing, don't you think?" Zooms in on the sconce and says, "Xander really is amazing." You know, I think that was the intention. Whoa, I missed a bunch of stuff. Sorry. Scrolling back, a lot of direct questions. Remaking the videos. No, I'm so glad Mark is working with you. I wouldn't say he's working with me, but we are friends. We've now met in person several times. He came to EdenCon, and we got to have a coffee afterwards. The first time I met Mark, I flew to L.A., and it was more nervous than I've ever been for a date. You know, I was like, do I look okay? Like, because, you know, this guy wrote this book that had this tremendous effect on me. The channel wouldn't exist without the book that helped sort of get things started. And he comes in and he's just, "Hey, how you doing?" And I babbled for 45, 50 minutes about ideas I had for the channel and this, that, and the other thing. Like, I didn't ask questions the way you're supposed to on a good date. And towards the end, I told him an idea I've been kicking around for a while. There's been a lot of, I mean, Whedon relates to this, but I have feelings about it one way or the other. There's been a lot of male artists' bad behavior coming out, right? And so the idea is for the video that I want to do is art versus the artist, and I relate to that very personally because of when I was younger, the way I learned to perform was by memorizing Bill Cosby routines, and this occurred sort of under the stars with my family out on a houseboat. You know, like these sort of cherished memories, and I think we all go through at some point when an artist that whose art we've loved is revealed to be a certain way. I brought this up with him, and Mark had a story I can't share about a very famous. He's been a lawyer in Southern California for a long time, and he had something that was so interesting and directly related to what we were talking about, and it occurred to me I hadn't asked him a question the entire time we were sitting there. We've since hung out and emailed back and forth, but he's been very generous with his time and patient with me. Elliot, $10 donation. Thank you for helping me shape my personal philosophy with your videos, especially your amends review. Are there any other TV or movies you like that demonstrate absurdism and with metaphor the way Buffy does? I think much more common is nihilism, and nihilism is sort of life is meaningless, but then doing nothing with it. It's like a half measure, and there's a lot of nihilistic entertainment out there. I don't know anything. I'm sure there's existential media certainly, but I don't know anything that is built around absurdism quite the way Whedon does. But I'm also not a master of that by any stretch. You know, I have learned and done the research that I needed to write this series. But anyway, thank you, and cheers. 4 years. Matthew says, sure, no problem. Once again, praise your channel. I appreciate it. Undertaker, have you read the Fray comics? Actually, yeah. I have a P.O. box that's listed in all of the videos, and a very kind person sent me the Fray comic book, which I have here and read through. I really enjoy it, and boy, it has the Whedon flavor to it. It's definitely present. It stood out to me far more than the half a season of season 8 that I got through. I just wish that it was longer, more developed. It felt. I mean, comics just don't allow you the same amount of screen time. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn when it comes to the medium. I enjoyed it. I just really wanted more. Chris Clark says you could always tweet Jane Espenson and ask her. I don't remember what you're referring to, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Krishna says, on the subject of Superstar, do you think that in the alternate timeline Buffy ran away like she did in Becoming, or that Jonathan possibly stopped Angelus himself? See, that's a fascinating question about that episode. That episode, I mean, at the end of the day, some of the episodes you have to just say, these things can't be sorted. There's the question of rape with the twins. Jonathan's spell. If Jonathan's spell just makes him really, really ridiculously interesting, then okay. But if the spell is a form of mind control, then the twins can't actually offer informed consent. And it's not really okay, the spell working the other way either, but it's clearly wrong if it's mind control. And I didn't touch on that because of the way the spell didn't work. So there's so many strange little nitpicks with that episode that at the end of the day you kind of have to go, this is not going to be clean the way that I want it to be. So I'm going to move forward. I think part of the reason that we have such a high standard for the lore and for the way the universe works and the way things work is because it is so imbued with meaningful philosophy. Sort of sexism in Star Trek, you kind of go, okay, sure. I mean, it's not forgivable. I don't know. It's just very different the way those two communities work. Jonathan is the nice guy, yes, and the contemporary comparison that we came up with was incels. That the trio are horrifyingly more relevant today than they were when they first published this. So, by the way, if you want to send me a note directly with the red and the highlighting, make sure you type @PassionOfTheNerd. I just cannot read all the chat. I apologize. There's just too much. We won't get at it. What's on my wrist? Oh, I stabbed myself accidentally when I was cleaning with an outlet plug. It was on the floor. I was cleaning up the mess. Miss Cunning Linguist says, what arc, villain, small or larger, do you personally find the most scary? Not just aesthetically, but thematically? My big fear has always been Caleb. Scary would be Glory. She reminds us, the first scary movie I saw was The Terminator. And it's this unstoppable, self-interested, singular, mindless force that nothing can stop. And that's Glory. Thematically scary. I mean, Caleb's scary. I don't know. He's also gross and... yeah. I don't know. Let me think about that one. That's a good one. Matthew Mann, how about the Buffy board game, card game, so forth? I do have the first Buffy Xbox game queued up, and one of the full-time ambitions is to do a full playthrough of that game. There is a Passion of the Nerd game channel. I haven't done very much with it, and there's like 30 subscribers. But eventually the entire, I'm going to do a whole playthrough of the Buffy game on that channel. Tiago says, if you want something similar to Angel's absurdism, I'd look at Person of Interest. Thank you, Tiago. Albert Camus, The Man. I agree. I prefer him to. Glory versus Adam. Oh, God. Glory would just rip Adam end from end. All right. So let's move on. We're doing the season 1 episodes tonight. So we are on The Witch. Maybe we need to do 2 in a row. But here we go.
And so, we come to it. New Buffy Watcher. The first episode that I cannot, in good conscience, suggest that you watch.
I still believe that. If you're doing a skip watch guide, I still hold to that. And the music, of course, is to be.
We come to it.
Oh, sorry. I'm facetious. Suggesting how sad I am to have to suggest a skip episode.
Xander has a fantasy about saving Buffy from a vampire and then rocking out.
Xander, you got a little...
Buffy's science teacher then pulls her aside after class and gives her the first confidence boost from an adult she's received in the series run, which should be a sign as to what happens next. Angel drops in for a bit of dire news dropping and the further inflating of the sexual tension balloon. That gives us a chance to see Xander's jealousy in full bloom, an important aspect of his personality. The new science substitute Miss French comes to town and all the boys are instantly smitten, despite her emphatic...
I don't understand that musical choice. The weird, like, wood pipe island music they used for her. It's very. I mean, it works. Somehow it works. It's great. But
and weird love of bugs.
Over 1,800 species worldwide, and in nearly all of them, the female is larger.
I believe that's a South African accent.
And more aggressive than the male.
I wonder if she had anything to do with it.
That's poorly edited.
Well, that answers that question. Miss French invites Xander to her place for some after-school work. Everyone tries to tell Xander she's evil, but he can't hear them over the sound of his throbbing erection. Or maybe it's some kind of smelly bug mind control voodoo? I don't know. They're not really clear on that. Xander goes to her home. She slips him a Mickey. He wakes up on a straw floor in a cell as giant bug Miss French looms in the darkness. Buffy comes in and saves the day via sock puppet theater, and the episode ends with more Buffy and Angel smoldering.
Oh boy.
Is there anything to enjoy about the episode? Well, of course. There isn't a single episode of the show that doesn't have something to enjoy.
Of course.
A gag, a good line, a moving bit of dialogue. If you've been enjoying yourself so far, by all means dive in. But if you're still trying to get hooked, this episode is probably a hazard rather than a help. Nicholas Brendon does a great job as the insecure outsider to Buffy's love life. He has some decent lines and does what he can with a giant rubber mantis suit in his face. But the two most interesting scenes in the whole episode are the first scene with Buffy and Angel and the last scene with Buffy and Angel. Yes, it does begin to build some aspect of Xander's sub-story that threads through the series. But arguably there...
Sounds like I just said Xander, and I like that.
There are episodes coming that do it better and with much less silliness. Other than, I think, a single bug reference in the later episode, you're not going to miss anything. Just empirically, it's one of the lowest rated episodes of the 7 seasons. The show is mostly serialized, and the episodes are usually at their best when they're furthering the development of the season arc. One of the main problems with season 1 is that
I don't know if
too many
that's true.
one-offs. This is the second week in a row with the Monster of the Week episode. Where the hell is the Master? Just hanging out in his cave? But whereas Witch had content that is dramatically important in later seasons...
That's the most Reddit and dated old man version of trying to use...
Where the hell is the Master? Just hanging out in his cave? But whereas Witch had content that is dramatically important in later seasons, Teacher's Pet does not. There's no mystery to the whodunit. Miss French's hot bug speech makes sure of that. Every scene is just more or less building to the inevitable fight between Buffy and the she-bug. And when it does happen, it's ridiculously awkward and takes place in almost complete darkness. Probably because they didn't have the budget to finish the rest of the bug suit. But it isn't just that. The bug itself sort of breaks the rules of the show's own universe. A giant praying mantis.
I like
they
this
never
joke.
Fight a giant squirrel or a giant Persian cat. What's the explanation for this? I don't need much. Another dimension, mythological. Give me something, Giles.
If I recall correctly, poor old Carlisle, just before he went mad, claimed there was some beast.
Buffy 911.
That's it. That's all they give.
Forget it. You think I'm grossly nitpicking? This isn't nitpicking. Here's a nitpick. Why does Miss French turn into a bug first before she, to the Virgin Boys? It seems like they'd be more willing volunteers if she kept her woman-shaped form for the egg fertilizing, and then turned into a bug and bit their heads off. That's a gross nitpick.
Wow, that's about as ranty as I ever get. Scrolling backwards. Northvind, do you ever read chats after streams? This one's a little bit busy. I think I would be hard pressed to be able to read through all of it. But yes, I have gone back. Well, YouTube didn't actually keep the stream histories until very recently, or rather the stream chat histories. Bluestocking, I hope you turn your thoughts on the trio and misogyny into a video. It's good to hear a man dig into this stuff. Definitely. There's no way I won't. I just am sorry that I feel like I squandered the opportunity to foreshadow it appropriately in Superstar. And I said something that isn't actually true, which is that Jonathan didn't punish Buffy. At least I don't believe he did, because that's not who he is in Season 6. But there is something to the fact that Buffy got depowered that I was sort of mulling around and didn't really nail down until after the video was already published, which is always frustrating. Those games are great. Referring to the Buffy Xbox games, Krista Bayer says, I hope you get to play them all. Carmel Ramos says, Illyria versus Glory. I don't know, but that's a fight I want to see. Glory would win in Illyria's powered down form, but Illyria would kick her ass before they depower her. Matthew Mann, do you think that they should make a new Buffy video game, companies Rockstar, Insomnia, or even Ubisoft? Well, I'd love to. I'd love a next generation video game too. They're not going to do it, but it would be a good time. If the show takes off, and I hope the show is successful, and I've seen a couple of questions about the reboot that we can talk about, but I've been trying to save that for a conversation with my friend Autumn, who I believe is in chat. But we'll see. What's the best Xander episode? The Pack, Bewitched, oh, so you gave me the selection. The Pack, Bewitched, Bothered, or Bewildered, or the Zeppo. The Zeppo's incredible. The Zeppo, we've been talking about broad humor with Superstar, which is why that episode doesn't coalesce for me. I enjoy it. But the Zeppo is sort of broadly funny and absurd, but it's grounded in Xander's perspective. Those things aren't actually occurring on screen the way they appear to be. They're exacerbated by Xander's interpretation of what reality is. And so it's so smart. It's so amazing. I love it. Xander gets a lot of the funnier episodes. I like Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. There's consent questions, of course, and I hate the fact that Buffy says, thank you for not taking it, or good job not taking advantage of me at the end. And people defend him because it's like, well, he's 14. And it's like, no. And that episode is a mire for me, personally. I love how mournful you are about this episode. Yes, that was a fun part of that one. The fact that they didn't finish the bug costume on time maybe worked in their favor since they decided to film it mostly in the dark. Yeah, I don't think it worked in their favor. I just don't think it worked. I don't know that having the bug bottoms, let's say the episode Fredless in Angel has insane bug outfits. With full legs, and they've blue screened out obviously whatever the puppeteers say. You put that bug in the Teacher's Pet, I still don't think the episode works. But these are voice finding episodes. I'm not poo-pooing the show for them. I'm just saying, like, this is not why we're here. But the thing I've always emphasized is that if someone likes an episode, I don't, they're better off. Always. It's more fun to love something. It's more fun to like something. To celebrate something is a joy. To dissect it is, sort of masturbatory. I don't know. Is how I feel when I'm doing these episode guides. It's like, it's easy to see the flaws in something. It's more difficult to dig into, oh, he's reading Jean-Paul Sartre, and they're talking about this, and these are a model for this. So that's always been my feeling about the episode guide. Michael Flaherty says, Firefly guide. Yes. At the end of Buffy Season 4, Angel Season 1, I'll be doing why you should watch Firefly, and then a 12-episode guide, and then the movie, and then Buffy Season 5, Angel Season 2. Excuse me. And Xander did Kubla Khan. I think I missed that, Admiral Merriweather. I apologize. I love a good Buffy standalone. Yeah, the reverse. That's why I said I don't think that is true. Buffy is at its best when it's at its best, and it's sort of irrelevant whether it's furthering the arc or not. I do love the arc stories. When I was writing that, I was probably thinking of The Gift and sort of Buffy Season 6, which is a huge arc, and even the one-offs in that, Once More with Feeling, are part of the arc. But episodes like Hush are tremendous. Something Blue, tremendous. So, whoa. Sorry, I lost my place. I never thought you were saying... I think I did say the word punished, Blue Stocking. If I didn't, then that's good. Can you believe the Watchers Council let this guy go? Given the misogyny consent theme and how it's going to become more relevant, do you think doing a separate video on that much later down the line would be worthwhile? I'm thinking about when I'm full-time doing, not regularly, but a series of videos about the last 2 videos I published where I respond to comments. In reflection, or I don't know what the title would be, but specifically, there were enough people that mentioned the twins in this one and argued that Jonathan didn't punish her and so on and so forth, that I screwed up my own thesis, that I kind of wanted. I was thinking it would be useful to have a video series that I could periodically go to where I talk about, that is completely spoiler, where I respond to comments and talk about what I was trying to do in the episode guide, or respond to comments that I think are inaccurate, or re-emphasize certain points, or whatever. That might be the way that I approach Superstar, because I think by virtue of Season 6, that episode is more important than it is just within itself. Miss Cunning, Caleb frightens me to the very core. It took me 10 years to be able to watch Firefly because I couldn't deal with Nathan Fillion's face. Yeah, he's pretty crazy. Tina, happy anniversary. Looking forward to more years of Passion of the Nerd. Thank you for the donation, Tina, and I appreciate it. And cheers, everyone. 4 years. We're 4 videos into this. At the moment, we're on like let's make this a 2-hour stream. That's 45 more minutes. So we might need to cram a little bit. But that'll rein in my pedantic rambling. Rydia says, what did you think of the change in the fighting style in Season 5 onwards because of the change in the stunt team because of Joss's disagreements? That's interesting. It feels a little less visceral to me. There are several fights in Season 3 and 4 that I really love, and I'm struggling to think of ones that have that fluidity and in Season 6 and 7. But I'd not noticed that before until you pointed that out. That's interesting. Admirable. Okay, fine. Admirable Merriweather says, you said I think I said a Xanadu, which sounds like Xanadu, which is how... Oh, gotcha. It was a deep cut both ways, so I appreciate it. All right, we're caught up. Derjogli says, grown up with Buffy, but it's your show that made me really appreciate them. Thank you. Keep it up. Cheers to 4 years. Cheers. Thank you, everyone. Let's do the next one. So, never kill a boy on the first date. Oh, and we should be looking at, well, this stream can't, this is going to be like a 5-hour stream if we look at comments. because occasionally new comments still roll in for these videos.
As I mentioned before, Buffy's friends each individually have a symbolic relationship to her, but the one I actually find the most interesting is Cordelia. Seemingly there only to provide Buffy an antagonist, Cordelia struck me as a bit two-dimensional when I first watched the show. A tired retread of the popular alpha schoolgirl trope we've seen over and over again.
Are you sure they're real lemons? Yes. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll buy a cup if you buy a box of my delicious Girl Scout cookies.
See, this is an example of why this is a fan series and not actually strict criticism. I do this kind of stuff all the time. I like, in the Superstar video, connecting the vamp that Adam was hanging out with to Supernatural. It's, we're fans. It's just fun to make the connections. It's fun to, you know, it's fun to find those links. And, yeah, so, I mean, they're reviews. There is an element of them that are reviews, but also the guide has always intended to be a celebration of, you know, the web of media that sort of springs out or is connected to Buffy.
Cookies. Do we have a deal? Are they made from real Girl Scouts?
You love him, and he totally complimented you. That is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
I also think this section doesn't work from an editing standpoint anymore. Pace is broken, but...
Dressed like that?
Like what?
Like you're going to a funeral. Why are you dressed like somebody died?
Wait.
Heathers.
What are you gonna do, Heather? Take the 2 shots or send me out?
I love Heathers. Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?
Cordelia!
God! What is your childhood trauma?
But over the course of the early episodes, Buffy mentions a few interesting things. First, she was a cheerleader at her old school. Second, she used to be really popular. She at one point even compares herself to Cordelia.
Before I was the Slayer, I was... Well, I don't want to say shallow, but... Let's say a certain person who will remain nameless. We'll just call her Spordelia. Looked like a classical philosopher next to me.
Cordelia is for Buffy the path not taken. She is what Buffy might have been had she not been given the Slayer powers, her metaphorical path to adulthood. Never kill a boy on the first date as a watch.
So the Jungian idea, I believe, where those sorts of aspects of our personality get bubbled up to the surface and then consumed or absorbed through acceptance and... it's escaping me right now. Individuation. What I'm setting up there is the idea of the shadow self and consuming the shadow self as opposed to becoming the shadow self. And but the thing is, as we get older and our experiences change and you know, we sort of grow and go beyond that, the shadow self converts, and so Cordelia is not the last shadow self. There is another one coming, as we all know. All right, Jack.
Episode featuring the welcome return of the Master. He describes a prophecy in which there will come an ally for him called the Anointed One.
And in this time shall come
the Anointed.
The Anointed, the Master's great warrior. And the Slayer will not know him, will not stop him, and he will lead her into hell.
The Master's minions then attack a bus filled with women and children.
This guy is so weird. Even now, every time I watch this episode, I'm like, what did they do? He's so weird. I mean, the show is all about surprises and subverting the expectations and all of that. So, like... partially, like, the red herring or the bait and switch is a part of that milieu or that exercise, but this guy is so weird.
And one southern...
Are you prepared to stand with the righteous?
Nut bar.
Are you willing to stand with the righteous?
Meanwhile, Buffy gets a date with a sensitive boy next door named Owen, but Giles has found out about the prophecy and makes her skip it to go sit in the graveyard with him, waiting for the Anointed One to rise.
Well, you know what they say. 90% of the vampire slaying game is
waiting.
When no one does, Buffy heads to the Bronze to find Owen dancing with Cordelia. The next morning, Owen asks her out again, and Xander sports his jealous pants. Buffy goes to the Bronze on her date, while Giles, having discovered the bus disaster, heads to the morgue to investigate. But the
Pace is sounding better, getting tighter. It's still not enough energy.
Master's minions are there to get the Anointed One. On their date, both Cordelia and Angel try and get between Owen and Buffy. When Xander and Willow show up to tell her Giles is in trouble...
The difference is it doesn't sound like I'm a person who speaks quickly but understands what they're talking about and really has something to tell you. It sounds like I'm reading very quickly about this thing. These are semantic details that I think about, but still.
Buffy lies to Owen.
By the way, I'll get to comments after this video. We're kind of doing comments between videos.
Heads to the morgue only to find out Owen tailed her. He sees the Southern Nut Bar rise as vampire before...
The Southern Nut Bar.
Giles. Buffy, thinking Owen is dead, goes crazy town on the vampire and kills him.
You killed my date!
The next day, Owen
Did I do a knock
for what Buffy represents and
did I do a knockout counter for which? Also, that's number 3.
When they're going out again. She realizes there's no way she can have a relationship with him and breaks it off. Giles and Buffy console themselves with the notion that they destroyed the Anointed One, but in his underground lair, we see the Master overjoyed by the arrival of the real Anointed One, the child from the bus. Overall, this is a very watchable first season episode. It was nice to get back to the Master storyline, and the switcheroo at the end actually worked on me. The actors feel like they're starting to settle in a bit. You see the chemistry developing between the leads, especially Giles and Buffy.
Do you have any more copies of Emily Dickinson? I need one.
Buffy, well, the mere fact of you wanting to check out a book would be grounds for a national holiday. I think we should focus on the problem at hand.
The only problem with the episode is Owen himself. It was just the last episode that Buffy and Angel were undressing each other with their eyes.
Oh boy.
And here a new boy gets retconned in for the sake of a plot.
That was Owen.
Yes, I remember.
But Owen doesn't actually feel like a real person to me. He isn't sensitive.
Again, so this is funny. One of the new comments is... And I hope this person doesn't mind me sharing, but I really thought it was great. Owen makes complete sense to me. I've been falling for someone and had my head turned by someone else, had no chemistry, been on an awful date, and some guy talking about how girls suck. Becky, I'm sorry, but also thank you for opening my eyes.
She's just so incredibly morbid. A lot of loss, a lot of death.
I guess what I should have said was, I wouldn't date Owen.
It gets me.
His fascination with Emily Dickinson isn't for the quality of her poetry or its depth, but rather for the morbidity of her writing. Owen thinks that death and sadness are inherently more meaningful. So he's an Emily Dickinson reading, pocket watch carrying, death-obsessed teenager who looks like the boy next door quarterback? It's like the writers just picked from a grab bag of random traits and pulled one each from neckbeard, goth, and jock. He's also kind of a douche.
I didn't think I'd find you here. I just find most girls pretty frivolous. Are we gonna see a dead body?
But more confusingly, why are we supposed to believe Buffy is interested in this D-bag? They have zero chemistry. Just compare the gravitas of Angel and Owen in this scene.
Where do you know Buffy from?
Work.
Or for that matter, why would Cordelia throw herself from atop the high school food chain at some poetry reading loner? Unless, of course, she was just trying to do that to piss off Buffy for...
Cordelia!
Okay. I follow.
That one's okay. Bick. No diggity. How do you feel about the Uber vamps in Season 7 being so powerful that Buffy's plan was just fight it one-on-one? What if she lost? I think at that point she knew that she could win. And sort of symbolically, I understand what they were going for. I thought that worked best. From the standpoint of the fiction, I think that in Season 7 they're leaning harder into the meaning and symbolism than they are to the lore or things being tight. And so you can nitpick quite a bit in Season 7, including that, but I don't know. It's tough to decide if it's grievous enough that it didn't work, or if the emotional resonance of what she did for the potentials worked. For me, it works. But I certainly understand the... Wait, are you sure that the this thing with the thing. Admirable Merriweather says, cheers for 4 years. Thank you. Cheers. No Diggity. Do you think Cordelia is responsible for at least... Do you think Cordelia is responsible or at least directly tied to Jonathan's character? Was Cordelia's misandry linked to Jonathan's misogyny? That's an interesting take. So Jonathan, I believe, first appeared in Inca Mummy Girl. And then in Reptile Boy, Cordelia said she was dating college men only, and then in the end said she was only dating men she could shape. And then in not Halloween, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, Jonathan is sitting on the steps, and Harmony tries to get her to make fun of him. Or rather says I don't think Cordelia shaped anything with Jonathan. I think she might have been representative of his experience. Excuse me. The bubbly is making me a little bubbly. I think Cordelia was representative of his experience, but she was not his only experience, and so no, I don't think Cordy shaped him. I think so. I always forget the term where you make up a fan connection that maybe the writers didn't intend, but it explains a certain number of things. There's one that I was showing in Earshot, where Willow is interrogating Jonathan and says, "Fantasy is fun, isn't it, Jonathan? But sometimes we have to make people understand." And throughout the episode, Buffy, who's able to read minds, picks up nothing of Jonathan's plans. In the cafeteria, he's perfectly calm. He's sweat-free. And when she touches, she touched me. Are you gonna get the mac and cheese? It's very blasé. Then Willow has that scene. Willow, who has been learning to practice magic, is loaded with power, by virtue of becoming part 2 has already occurred. The door is open. By channeling such magics through yourself, it could open a door you couldn't close. That scene's very bizarre. It's written it's a joke because sometimes we have to make them believe, don't we, Jonathan? And yet, later in the episode, Jonathan is sweating, carrying a rifle that's his own height and standing on the top of a bell tower. I think magic's been shown to influence people without an actual spell. And later, Willow in Something Blue, by virtue of a spell she actually cast, convinces people to do or change in the way that she wants them to. I wonder if Willow drove Jonathan to the bell tower. And in that scene, she also talks about fantasy can be fun, can't it, Jonathan? And then he creates a spell that makes all of his fantasies real. And then Jonathan becomes a part of the trio, which ends up being part of Tara's end. So the connection from Willow's arc, from that moment, the possible connection of it, is extremely fascinating to me. Jonathan didn't shoot Tara. Warren did. But the connection from all of those moments and then to her rage and becoming Dark Willow at the end of that, that scene doesn't excuse anyone of responsibility, but it feels like there's something there. But Cordelia, no. Carmel Ramos, I apologize, I missed this during the call. It says nearly 4 a.m, heading to bed, love the videos. See more, hopefully. Good night. Jen, what are your thoughts on the first Slayer? I don't really have a lot of thoughts on the first Slayer. I haven't figured out, there's sort of consuming media in a sitting and enjoying things sort of for what they are, and then there's writing these guides. And because I haven't written a guide for Restless yet, I really haven't puzzled out what that character means to me. So there's no first impressions. She's interesting, and it fits with sort of the feminist mission statement of the show, but that's about as far as I've gotten. Rydia says, yeah, fans can see Sophia Crawford more in season 4, and they had we're talking about stunts again. Had a disagreement with Joss Henn's new team in season 5, and more Sarah Michelle Gellar doing floaty fight scenes and much slower. Yeah, it does feel less kinetic. One of my favorite fight scenes is in Doppelgangland, where she busts into the bronze after Willow screams and hits a guy with a cue ball, and Angel's like doing all sorts of it's so good. And there's very little like that afterwards. Angel, generally speaking, I think Angel has superior choreography. Did I miss a donation? It's farther down. Sorry, Chris. I'll get to you. We're almost there. Make sure I'm not skipping any. No diggity. Spike is technically part of the familial lineage of the Master. They're related. Yeah, absolutely. I really love the Giles knockout counter. I do too. I sometimes forget about it, and I know I've forgotten the last 2, so I'm waiting for the next one to do one of those ones I did in Beauty and the Beast, where I did the reverse edit and then went back and filled in ones that I had missed. I'm going to do that again for the next one. But it's part of the identity of the episode guides, which is interesting. Alexandra Schroeder says, would you consider doing a Dollhouse guide as well? I hadn't, but a friend of mine is a huge fan of the show and had some insights into it that I didn't get out of my own viewing. So I might give it another try, and we'll think about it. Admirable Merriweather says, Owen was me in high school, except I didn't have the physique. Nice. Blue Stocking says, hopefully anyone over 30 knows not to date an Owen type. I just find girls so frivolous. How deep of you? You jackass. No diggity, nice answers. Sorry that the chat, the timing's so off. I hope that's not sarcastic, but if it's not, hey, thank you. I appreciate it. North fan, alas, Monday productivity calls me away. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Once again, congrats on the milestone. Passion of the Nord. Passion of the Nord. That's kind of true. Here's to many more. Cheers. Thank you, North fan. Chris Clark. Got to head to bed. Congrats on the 4th anniversary. Looking forward to new content. Your videos have added a new dimension to one of my favorite shows. Thank you for the donation, and thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Admirable Merriweather says, we should make a review of these videos so fans know which ones to watch. Will you ever... Matthew, will you ever do some hypothetical Buffyverse scenario videos and commentary? Probably not. No, there's just too much to do. There's a long list of... There's a long list of media that matters to me, which is what the channel is about to me. The passion of the nerd. I know that there are a certain number... The audience has been... The audience. I know that the bulk of who follows me follow me because of Buffy. And I respect and honor that, and I love Buffy, and I'm grateful. But for one thing, I don't want to over milk things. I want to say what there is to say, and then find other things. But there are also other things that I think speak to my heart. And I hope that the relationship that we have forged through these videos will allow me to bring other things to bear for people that will matter to them as well. So if an example off the top of my head is the movie Her. There's a bit in that movie that resonates with me incredibly, and it's actually in one of the Buffy videos. There are some of the bits of it are in one of the Buffy videos. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Data's journey in Star Trek The Next Generation. There's so much to talk about when what we're really talking about is what it is to be human and how we live. And a lot of people say that these videos are like therapy, and there's a reason for that. It is because they are therapeutic for me. I'm using the media to consider issues in my own life and my own character, and always trying to be a better man and to be a better human being and all of that. So it's never just been about Buffy for me. There's a mission here, as with anything. No diggity. The chronology of events just blew my mind that you just laid out. Willow to Jonathan. Oh, yeah, we got there. Here, have $2, says Jack. Cheers, Jack. Thank you. Raphael. Oh, whoa, back. Wow, there's a lot of chat. I mean, this stream is on you guys. We can watch more videos or we can just talk. So, Raphael Lemus, by the way, if you want to, for anyone in here who doesn't know, you can use the @Passion of the Nerd to make your chat pop out to me. I'm reading the red chats. There's too much chat for me to follow along. You guys talking to each other and so forth. And that's also mentioned at the bottom. Raphael Lemus says, what is the guide for Restless going to look like? There's going to be 2 guides. There's the spoiler guide and the non-spoiler guide. Spoiler guide will be a sort of a normal episode guide. Pardon me, I'm a little bubbly. The spoiler guide will talk about everything that is referenced in Restless. Non-spoiler guide will be non-spoiler. So more of how they're figuring out what's happening to them versus what all this means. And I've promised that I'm going to do a behind-the-scenes video of me doing one of them start to finish, which is going to be a challenge to make interesting, but I enjoy the challenge. Blue Stocking, I thought Fantasy Can Be Fun bit was from Go Fish. Must rewatch. Yeah, someone said I know she does 2 interrogations, but I just watched Earshot for Superstar, so I'm not positive, but yeah. Miss Cunning Linguist, what do you think about how all the Scoobies except Buffy that died on the show died in non-magic ways, specifically Joyce, Tara, Anya? Coincidence? I mean, I hadn't thought about it, but I mean, Anya gets killed by a vampire, right? One of the Uber vamps. That might. I mean, I'm forgetting how her death plays out. Tara, yes, and Joyce, yes. No, I don't think it's coincidental. A lot of those deaths, like Joyce's death specifically, has much more power and resonance because it isn't supernatural. And that's perfect, because on a show about a supernatural superhero, the one thing she can't control or have power over or stop is the thing that isn't supernatural. And that's devastating. And I mean, that episode wouldn't have worked any other way, or wouldn't have had anywhere near the power any other way. Tara's death is a little different. It has at times felt, I don't know. There's the bury your gaze trope that's problematic with that. They plan to do it early on. I find Entropy a little manipulative, that they get back together right before that happens. But then again, in season 5 of I don't know. It's not as okay with me, I guess, as for whatever that's worth. I'm just a fan, but it's not as clean to me as Joyce's death in season 5. Like the nature of Joyce's death fit the meaning of the episode and what they were going for and so forth. I'm not so sure about the rest. March Noir 44. The Giles knockout counter catch-up gag is a hilarious nugget in the vids. Thank you. I appreciate that. The knockout counter is an incredible amount of work because I'm a terrible animator, and so at some point I decided that the knockout counter had to, in some way, move along with the shot that it's inside of, and which means for me keyframing and adjusting the animation every shot. I sound like I'm trying to make everyone feel sorry for me, but no, that's pride. That's me going, yeah, it's super fun because I get to do a little bit of animation. Although part of the goal of going full-time is getting better with After Effects, which I think will help me out quite a bit. The Giles Knocko counter. Blue Stocking, do you have a favorite Giles knockout? It's got to be the one for me in Beauty and the Beasts, because that's the flashback one, and I spent hours on that section. And the music is kooky and ridiculous and stupid. Yeah, I like that one quite a bit. Raven, you look very nice tonight. Loving the tie. Well, it's a celebration. I thought I'd dress up. The top half, anyway. Hold on. It has that weird... I missed a whole bunch. Wow, there's a lot of questions. So... Still going back. Sorry. Oh, very nice. There we go. Nova Canna, what episode of Angel or Buffy are you looking forward to reviewing? I'm very much looking forward to Season 5. I can spoil the way Season 5 is going to open if you want me to. But there's a in one of the dream sequences in Becoming Part 2, Buffy is talking to Faith, and Faith says... yeah, miles to go, counting down from 730. And I have the edit for the opening of Season 5 constructed based on that, in my head, based on that little bit. And I think it's going to be really fun and effective and emotional, and I can't wait. I can't wait to do it. Which sucks, because the back half of Season 4 is a bit of a drag, other than the Faith stuff. Jen, I know Xena's on your watch list, and I assume you'll watch Hercules. If you don't like Hercules, please still give Xena a chance. They are very different shows than Buffy and Angel. I get a lot of recommendations, Jen. Both of those are on my to-watch list, and you know the fairest way of kind of going through those things is to just put everything up for a vote, and I sort of rank things by Internet Movie Database's rankings and number of viewers. So when it comes up, it'll come up against other stuff that's sort of in that same milieu or range. But I think the to watch list is steep at this point. So I can't promise anything, but I'm still going to try. Jack hearted me. I don't know why, but I love it. Ribbit says, speaking for myself, knowing your videos, your opinions have weight and value for me, so anything that interests you, I'll give it a shot. Have you read, Matthew Mann says, have you read any Buffyverse fan fictions or looked at Buffyverse fan art? I have a wonderful piece of Buffy fan art on my wall, framed, that a fan of this show sent me. And her name is Bonnie Bozell. Bonnie Bozell has a piece of Buffy art that is gorgeous. And every time I show it, either on Instagram or a live stream, a few people go and order it again because it is amazing. She is a wonderful artist. And I've read fan fictions that people have sent me. I'm actually in a piece of fan fiction, but I don't want to embarrass her if she doesn't want me to out her writing on a live stream. How do I feel about the comics? Will, I've answered that question earlier. Jack will let you know. I apologize. Go Fish is one of the interrogations. Yes. How about Buffyverse crossovers with Xena and the woman from Alias? Haven't seen either of them yet, so I can't comment. Anya gets slashed by a weapon, so I'd say it's still natural to some extent. Fair enough. Ice Jackal, any ideas or thoughts on what Season 4 would have looked like if Maggie Walsh hadn't left? I mean, it's hard to say. I think it would hang together better. The season 2 is incredible because of the emotional connections. I mean, sort of philosophically, it all works well, but I think that season might have some of the most significant emotional hooks. Season 3, I think, is close to flawless when it comes to construction, the quality of each individual episode, and then averaging that out over the course of the season. The Mayor and Faith's relationship, which it just breaks my heart, and how that relates to Buffy and Giles. And then there's season 4, where it just has it has no resonance. There's Tara and Willow's relationship, which works and is lovely. And then there's a bunch of good one-offs, and it just doesn't have the hooks of any of the other seasons. I think, as much as people poo-poo season 7, I think season 4 might be less emotionally relevant than anything in season 7. So it only could have improved. I mean, Seth Green leaving and Maggie Walsh leaving really upset the apple cart. Season 4 has wonderful one-off episodes and great little emotional moments like Wild at Heart and all of that, but they don't coalesce at the end into something monumental and significant like Close Your Eyes, or battling the whole school, battling the mayor, or The Hardest Thing in Life Is to Live It. There's none of that, right? And that's, to me, because the thesis changed several times during the whole thing. Jayco Black, a $5 donation. Thank you for all you do to show people how wonderful Buffy is. Thank you, and cheers. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary, everyone. Miscunning linguistic. Anya gets crushed by rubble, I believe. I think she gets stabbed, but I don't remember exactly. Will Lala just added me, and I might have missed. Will, I'm sorry if I missed what you said. Wow. Whoa, I'm way behind. Holy cow, there's a lot of questions. Iflanuist, $10 donation. Thank you for sharing yourself to all us internet strangers. I look forward to seeing more of your content. Thank you. Cheers and happy anniversary. Flesh TH, Josh really wanted to have a title character get killed off. He wanted to do that with Jesse in season 1, episode 1 and 2, but they couldn't budget it. I'm a little behind chat versus what I'm saying, Jesse, so I'm sorry if I missed that. Oh, you're talking about Tara. Yeah. Yeah, but the measures of how successful it works with the series, I think, are different. I get that they were ignorant of the bury your gays trope. I don't know, and I've heard some people say that Tara, like Fred is in Angel, is a character that is more an element in their counterparts' arcs than having their own. Tara has the family episode where she thinks she's going to turn into a demon, and that's it. The rest of her story sort of services Willow's, and then Fred is a love interest for Wesley, and then dates Gunn, and then when she's about to have a moment of significant character development, where she either has revenge upon the person who sent her to Pylea or not, Gunn breaks his neck. So, I don't know. It's not just the deaths. It's the arcs and all of that. I don't know. I struggle with them a little bit. Will says, how do I feel about the comments? Jack will let you know. Which of the deaths in Angel hit Wesley? Or Fred? Or Wesley Fred? Krishna, I probably did mean Graduation Day Part 2. Am I wearing pants? How dare you? That's not a question. That's... I should watch Riverdale. If Boris is here, he'll put that on the list. I've got to drop down, guys. I'm sorry. Wait, I do want us to wrap up at 2 hours. Season 4. I love all the questions. There's so much good stuff. Anya getting back and say, oh yeah, I found a real hook in the fact that after the Scoobies break up and come back together again in the end. Again, I'm lagging behind chat here. Since Disney is going to own Buffy, would you read a Faith Blade comic? Sure. If it was good, yeah. That's so, I mean, in brief, and I'll give credit where it's due, Autumn has sort of sculpted my thinking about this. My feelings about the Buffy reboot are none of the possibilities that are presented say it's going to be bad. If there's an African-American Buffy, and they reboot and do Welcome to the Hellmouth, and there's a Asian Xander or whatever. Like, none of those things mean it's going to be bad. And the new Buffy doesn't necessarily have to be for me. So, you know, it's kind of... And then they came out and said, well, maybe it's a sequel. Well, that's going to be more difficult because there's a lore that they have to account for with Chosen and then what happened with Damage in Angel Season 5. I find it hard to believe that it's going to be a sequel or a continuation of the universe. There's a ton to explain. So, you know, I'm sort of... statistically or sort of like you can weigh the odds of something being good based on reboots that have come before, Total Recall and RoboCop and all of this. But that still doesn't mean it's going to be bad. We just have to wait and see. And it doesn't have to be for me. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, more vids, please, says March Noir. I'm with you. Let's move on to the next one. Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. Where are we? This is 105. All right, The Pack. I love this video.
I have a weird hypersensitivity to portrayals of bullying.
I do.
For some reason, I get a deep, cringy feeling down in the depths of my stomach whenever I see unwarranted cruelty in movie or television shows. As a kid, Biff Tannen used to give me nightmares. Until this review, I had only watched The Pack once. Of course, that's also probably a testament to the episode's effectiveness. The Pack begins with a school field trip to the zoo. Xander jumps in to protect another boy from getting bullied by a clique of students that look like they've been held back for the past 15 years. In the process, he and the bullies get taken over by the spirits of some rare African hyenas. Willow acknowledges the torch she's been carrying for Xander to Buffy as Xander's behavior degrades into slow-motion walking and wanton cruelty.
Which means I won't have to look at your pasty face again.
Especially towards Willow. Buffy brings the problem to Giles, who doesn't see anything wrong beyond...
This one has a couple of my favorite jokes.
Xander being a teenage boy, and then Xander and company eat the school mascot. Giles checks the books and discovers the likely animal possession. Meanwhile, Principal Flutie confronts the Xanderless Pack over the mascot murder.
That's it. My office right now.
And the Pack attacks and eats him. Yes. The possessed students eat Principal Flutie. Buffy searches for Xander at the scene of the hog homicide and gets jumped.
The hog homicide.
What happened? I hit him. With what?
A desk.
A desk.
Leaving Willow on guard duty, Giles and Buffy go to speak to the zookeeper, who says he's known about the magic but hasn't been able to figure out the ritual. Giles supplies the missing piece, and Buffy goes to bait the Pack back to the zoo. Giles figures out the zookeeper was intentionally trying to have himself possessed by the hyenas, and the keeper knocks him out.
There's something very undignified. This has been dawning on me the more I've watched this episode.
By the hyenas, and the keeper knocks.
There's something undignified about that hairline and face paint. And I say this as someone with that hairline, but he looks more ridiculous than I don't know. Something about it that always just I don't know that it was intended, if he's supposed to look intimidating or if he looks like, you know, your junior high school or your high school calculus teacher that comes out wearing that ensemble.
Was intentionally trying to have himself possessed by the hyenas, and the keeper knocks him out. Buffy bursts in, pursued by the pack, and finds the keeper has taken Willow hostage. The keeper pulls the hyena spirits into himself, and Buffy throws him into the hyena cage where he gets eaten. Xander says he can't remember a thing, and all is forgiven. Giles privately tells him memory loss isn't a side effect of the ritual, but promises to keep Xander's secret forever.
Shoot me, stuff me, mount me.
It's a toss-up whether the pack or the upcoming episode Nightmares is the most effective iteration of the high school horror theme of the first season. It's another very literal metaphor.
It's interesting. I wonder if Xander's intolerance of Angel and then Angelus and then Angel, beyond putting Buffy on a pedestal or being jealous of her interest in him, also is kind of about his own self-hatred for what happened here and being sort of rapey and vampish himself. I may be reaching there, but that's what we do here.
For impediments to growing up, in this case animal packs being like high school cliques. There are a few genuinely creepy and effective moments. I have to admit Xander's rapiness made me squirm. It's tough watching a character you like do awful things. Mainly though it's...
And isn't that the show? It's tough watching a character you like do awful things. And that's kind of... you know, to some degree, the show. Mistakes plus redemption, you know, like, that's something so beautiful about this is people screwing up royally and then having to own it and atone, fix things, whatever. I love that. You know, there's sort of accidents in a lot of fiction, but egregious mistakes that we have to atone for and own. It feels somewhat unique to me in this show.
It's Flutie's death that makes this episode important. For the first time, it's firmly established that this universe Buffy and her friends live in can have lasting consequences. Flutie was one of the few regular ancillary characters on the show, and to have him die in such a gruesome and outlandish way raises the stakes for everyone involved. Things in Sunnydale can change
permanently.
For what is ostensibly another Xander-centric episode, it's Willow that gets the best character-building bits. To this point, she's been a bit of a hesitant character. Xander's cruelty in this episode devastates her. But in my favorite scene, when an imprisoned Xander tries to manipulate her feelings to escape, we get a glance at the well of her untapped strength and confidence.
Well, if I'm so dangerous, how come she left you alone with me?
I told her to.
Why?
Because I know you better than she does. And I wanted to be here to see if you were still you.
Look.
Now I know.
Eat it, Evil Xander!
I love that moment!
Xander's possession by the hyena spirit and demon possession when someone becomes a vampire are kind of interesting. Possessed Xander wasn't with the rest of the pack when they attacked Flutie because he was tracking Buffy, which means that Xander's wants and desires were in some way still influencing his actions, in much the same way when Jesse was turned in The Harvest. The first victim he pursued of his own accord was his human crush, Cordelia. Does that make Xander then in any way responsible for his actions when possessed? It's a question that will come up over and over again.
That's the sole question raised in this. So with the hyena possession, I mean, it's a vampire. It's a vampire parallel. It's perfectly a vampire parallel where he's possessed by ostensibly a demon, and all of his motivations are being driven by his human side. And think that Willow could be with anyone but you. And it drives him away from the hog slaughter and the principal slaughter. So the pack has a lot to do with those. It raises a lot of those questions. It doesn't answer very many of them, but it does raise them.
Again in later seasons. It also raises the question whether or not Xander was aware of Willow's interest in him and just chose to ignore it.
Until Willow stops kidding herself that I could settle with anyone but you.
I got a little bored with the long slow-motion shots of the roving high school pack, and the metaphor was a bit on the nose, but the pack is mostly a decent first-season Monster of the Week episode. For a little while it reminded me a bit of some of the 80s and 90s teen horror flicks like The Lost Boys. That is, until the bully clique devolves into feral animals. Their mannerisms gave me like a demon dog vibe and was more like a high school production of Cats.
I've never seen Cats, but that's one of my favorite jokes in the guide. Scrolling back. Bick. More vids, please. How could Spike come back in the Buffy reboot? He can't really. I don't want any of the old characters back unless they were human. I don't want them to roll out an older anyone. Unless it's Sarah Michelle Gellar. I mean, Buffy's a human. You know, in the Star Trek The Next Generation pilot, McCoy makes an appearance. I'm not sure that he actually plays McCoy, but Spock is in there, and they find justifications for their age. But vampires don't age, and so I don't want them to try. Just do something new. Do something, find a new way to excite me and make me interested, and find something that is contemporary, is relevant to now, but, like, if the trio made a return, no, maybe not. Tracy M., I noticed your awesome interpretations, not any flaws you see. I appreciate that, Tracy. No diggity, I disagree slightly. The reboot should be for you. They are rebooting for the built-in audience. We have a right to expect it to be a show we can watch. Totally disagree. There are shows that are of a time and of a place and for a specific audience. And I'm going to be 40 next year. I don't need if I watch a show about a 16-year-old high school student and don't get anything out of it, but 16-year-old high school students do, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not for me. The capital Buffy is significant, and using the name is certainly a thing, but there have been reboots that have worked. Battlestar Galactica was nothing like the original Battlestar. These properties can be revitalized and redeveloped. Battlestar Galactica was a Flash Gordon-esque kind of serial for kids. The new Battlestar was a dark and gritty reboot for adults. I wouldn't really want I don't have any children, but my imaginary 7-year-old son, I wouldn't want him to watch all of Battlestar Galactica. So, with respect, I don't agree. Matthew Mann, if they're going to make a continuation of Buffy, they should have made it a cartoon or an anime. To each their own. Autumn here says, I can't wait to have a conversation about the Buffy revisit. Autumn in chat is the person my friend, who has calibrated my thinking appropriately to the reboot. I sort of was all over the map in how I felt about it, so Karate Kid. Blue Stocking, where do you imagine Buffy would be now? What does nearly 40 Buffy look like to you? I don't know, but that's how my Comic-Con presentation that I did for the last 2 years, which is up on the channel, did end. Was I'm 40 next year, and I spend a lot of time asking myself the same question: what would Buffy do? What sort of metaphorical monsters would a middle-aged Buffy be facing? The 401k Phantom, the insurance gap assassin. I think the metaphor that Whedon created is so potent that it could be the adult Slayer could still be a rich source of commentary today. But I'm okay with if it's not. I still, like I say in the presentation, I still take great love and value from the Buffy that we got to have. I'm going to try and speed up a little bit. We're getting to 2 hours, friends. And I was planning on stopping us at 2 hours. We'll go to 2 hours and 30 minutes. Might do 2 videos in a row after this. Princess of Denmark, $8 donation. Thank you very much. Cheers. Princess of Denmark says, buy some cream cheese to go with the pretzels you'll be eating for the next month. Trust me, it's delicious. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. I love pretzels and cream cheese. It's one of my favorite snacks. Have you tried Wheat Thins with cream cheese? They're a little bit better. Raven, this is my favorite season 1 episode. We're actually to the Pack commentary. Yeah, I don't know if it's my favorite season 1 commentary, but this was their commentary episode. This was one of the episodes where, for me, the episode changed when I wrote the guide. I opened talking about that experience I have of that visceral reaction I have to stories of bullying and of cruelty. And, I was bullied quite a bit as a kid. And not really even quite a bit, but I was bullied. And that sort of physical, visceral reaction that I had to this episode sort of blocked me from enjoying what else was there. And then having to write the essay for the guide, brought up new stuff for me. It's like, well, the essay requires that I look further than my initial reaction. So I got more out of it. Matthew Mann, what is your favorite mythical creature of all? I'm not sure, Matthew. I'll have to think about that. Raven Steel, was the first time the library book cage was used as a holding cell in this? Yes, it was. Admirable Merriweather, the Pack philosophically favorite season 1 episode because of Flutie and how Xander hurts Willow. Real world, real consequences. That's the thing, is like, that's what I was trying to get at earlier, was people who love making real mistakes, consequential mistakes, not accidental mistakes, not necessarily just bad mistakes motivated by character, not by circumstance, I think might be the distinction. And I love that. I love that. I harp on Xander quite a bit, and that's part of the reason I love Xander so much, is because he is so probably the character I see myself in the most. Other than Buffy, but Buffy, that's sort of broad because all of the seasons sort of relate to her. And so there's so much material. But in the video essay, they're all video essays. The video I did, What Wild at Heart Means to Me, when I'm talking about myself, I'm using images of Xander to represent various aspects. So when I talked about drinking too much, or this and that and whatever, it's Xander drinking too much and so forth. Heads up. The Pack has to be one of my favorite episodes of the season. I think it's one of the better episodes in season 1. Willow's conversation with Xander in the library is one of the best. Completely. Canadian Kaz, Canadian Kaz, $5 donation, happy anniversary. Thank you, Canadian. I appreciate it. Happy anniversary. Whoa, it's like we're all dating each other. That's awesome. Okay. Near the bottom. No diggity. I say you should cater to the built-in audience if they are going to try and lure us with the name. Watch Cobra Kai on how they can do that directly. Well, I think Karate Kid was more of a social phenomenon than Buffy was per se, but I still don't think that they're tethered to the audience's expectations. Just make something good. Make art. And the other thing is that Buffy's audience has aged and changed, and there were casual fans at the time, and that whose interest may have withered. I just disagree, man. I don't think there are any set rules for it. Princess Denmark says, not yet, but I love Wheat Thins, so that will happen. Trust me, Wheat Thins and cream cheese. Matthew Mann, sorry, have to go. Battery's dying. Hope to have another one up your live stream soon. So we're doing an official Bad Decisions live stream to celebrate the end of my job and the beginning of self-employment in 2 weeks. And all of the episodes will be jobs related. So come back then, Matthew. But thanks for hanging out. And thank you for the donations. Paul Gibson, thanks for the stream. Happy anniversary and have a good night. My body is shutting down, so it's bedtime. Good night, Paul. No Diggity, I think Xander is good because he is the antithesis of the rest of the gang in a lot of ways. That's true. I mean, he has no power. He's the observer. Yeah, I love Xander. Hi, Andrea. Hello and congrats. Okay, on to the next one. We're doing it, friends. And color.
Just go and watch this one. I'll be here.
So I've got to show you why I did that, and that was intended. I was using the saturation, the color, to show the beginning of the relationship, and it has a pairing in the guide. There we go. Volume.
All roads lead to innocence. Somehow, though, analysis feels a little vulgar when considering an episode like Innocence. Academic, and, in the end, irrelevant. We can talk about rhyme and verse, and the elegance of a particular couplet, or the meaning of a stanza, but in the end there's only one relevant question. Does
So that's an editing style that I've used a couple of times, but I think this was the first instance of it where I reverse edited the clips chronologically, and the saturation is going back to indicate the bookend to the relationship. So he comes back in season 3, but things are never the same. This was the end of Innocence, and so the playing with color in Angel in episode 7 was intended to be bookended by the end of Innocence in this season. So, I mean,
or Prophecy Girl. Generally in Buffy, payoff episodes like these change the characters or their lives permanently when it's over. They're part of what makes the show such a blast. Just go and watch this one. I'll be here. On the way home from the Bronze, Buffy gets jumped by assassins and bailed out by Angel. They flee to Buffy's home, where Angel shows off a tattoo. A griffin. You know, a half lion, half bird. Excuse me. Angel and Buffy do some sexy close talking until her mom shows. Buffy, fearing for Angel's safety, hides him in her bedroom for the night. When she comes home the next day, Angel is still undiscovered.
Your mother moved your diary when she came in to straighten up. I watched her from the closet.
Sorry, something in my throat again. Buffy and Angel do an adorable little verbal do-si-do, and I didn't watch Buffy until my 30s, at which point
I'm so subtle.
I'd already heard through the grapevine about the show and its spin-off Angel. I imagined for fans getting to find out Angel's secret naturally through the progression of the storytelling was probably a bit like Vader's confession in Empire.
No. I am your massage therapist.
Anyway, Buffy tells the gang what happened, and the consensus seems to be she should stay.
I don't know.
Angel gets a visit from Darla, who tries to convince him his attempts to be something other than a practicing vampire are a waste of time. She can feel the desire within him. While Buffy is studying, Darla shows up at her...
This guide feels very long to me compared to what we've already watched, and it's 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
House tricks Joyce into inviting her in and then attacks her. When Angel tries to save her, Darla throws Joyce into his arms, and we can see his hunger. Buffy comes home at the wrong time. Darla tells Angel he's now in a kill or be killed position.
I want it finished.
This leads to the showdown in the empty bronze, and Angel finally disclosing the curse. As a punishment for killing a gypsy, his soul was restored. For 100 years, he's been living with the shame and self-hatred of the horrible things he did as a vampire. But remember, when a person becomes a vampire, they get invaded by a demon. The restoration of Angel's soul didn't exorcise the demon in him. Angel confesses that he wanted to kill Buffy tonight, but I believe that's the impulse of the demon in him, and I think that he does too. He's attempting suicide by cop. Look at how poorly he fights, and when the moment comes, how he freezes. That's his self...
By the way, my analysis of this scene is very much related to 5x5. So, just kill me. Just do it. I'm evil, just do it. And Angel refusing to do it, I'm not going to do it. That video will definitely relate back to this episode. I hadn't read very many, if any, people mention the suicide by cop idea, but I think he fights terribly in this scene, and I think it's there, and I think it informs 5x5 quite a bit.
Look at how poorly he fights, and when the moment comes, how he freezes. That's his self...
Elliot Kahn, maybe I'm thick. What's the symbolism of the tattoo? A griffin, a half man, half bird. Angel's half man, half demon, and it hadn't been revealed at this point. She didn't know he was a vampire until this episode.
Hatred for what he is and the things he did, coupled with his fear of what he might still be capable of. And I think that's why Buffy won't kill him. I think she realizes it's actually his desire to be good that has brought them to this moment. It's one of my favorite scenes in the first season, her walking towards him and offering him the chance. She can see the good in him and knows he won't be able to see it himself, so she shows him his own spark of humanity. It's a lovely little emotional crescendo. And then, like, making love and having a bucket of ice water dumped over your head, in comes Two Guns lispy vampire Darla to remind us we're still watching the first season. It's like a scene choreographed by John Woo's 10-year-old grandson on his iPhone. Darla deserved a better ending than this. But all's forgiven in the final scene. He loves her. If I'm honest, when I first watched this episode, I didn't quite get why Buffy and Angel were so drawn to each other, other than raging hormones and the fact that they're both way prettier than I am, which to me is the very definition of trashy romantic schlock. Romance driven by the superficial rather than character and narrative. But in doing these reviews, I've realized I'm just an idiot. Their attraction makes perfect sense. Buffy is the Slayer, the only superpowered human on Earth. She can never be a completely normal human being, and she can never have a normal life. Angel, a vampire cursed with his soul, is also isolated. He isn't a human, and due to the curse that restored his soul, his conscience won't allow him to live as a vampire. It's their mutual isolation that brings them together. Of course, you could argue that Buffy didn't know any of this about Angel until this episode, but I don't think that's entirely true. Whenever they spoke, he was always alone.
Do you know what it's like to have a friend?
Wah wah.
That wasn't supposed to be a stumper.
The signs were there from the start. It's just an all-around great episode. Wonderful dialogue, great scenes, and a more interesting world for the characters after it's done. But drink deep, my friends.
Yeah, maybe we skip those two videos tonight. What are we thinking here? Scrolling back. Oh, Paul, there we go. Miss Cunning Linguistics says, regarding Tara's death, do you think it could have been saved by Joss's original plans to bring Tara back at the end of Season 7 as Buffy's wish? Or would it feel... Yeah, I like things the way they are. I mean, I don't like the use of the... or rather the accidental use of the trope, but... to me, that's a retcon of sorts, which, both shows have been kind of guilty of. Xander is the best example of Joss being willing to make a teenager completely horrible in the way that only a teenager can be. I'm with you. I also love Xander. Well, you also have Willow in season 6. Just saying. Passion of the Nerd, Don Sample says Cordy nailed Xander perfectly in season 3 when she called him the Zeppo of the group. All the best Marx Brothers movies had the Zeppo in them. He made the other Marx Brothers funnier. Well, I mean, not directly in terms of humor, certainly, yes, but magically and supernaturally and from the standpoint of the superhero power, certainly, yeah. Xander... Xander's just there at the right moments. I asked myself, what would Buffy do? And then I asked myself, what is Buffy wearing? So, see, he builds up, and then he undercuts it right there. But he's still there, and he still did the build-up thing. So, yeah, I don't think directly, but symbolically, yeah, certainly. Will you be posting this live stream when it's done? Yes, assuming it doesn't get flagged. I'll probably argue any copyright flags this one gets, though. Maybe I'm thick. What is symbolism of the tattoo? I think I answered your question. Whoa. Sarah McLaughlin, off topic, but your Angel and Drake music video edit is amazing. Thank you for hard work. Happy anniversary. Thank you, Sarah. Happy anniversary to you as well. Yes, skip those 2 videos. Let's get going. Yeah, we'll skip the next 2. We don't need to watch my opinion of the puppet show, and I don't really want to watch Nightmares either. Ira, Eugene... yeah, well, simply because we're long, let's keep it under 2.5 hours here. So we'll go right. Do we watch Nightmares? We'll skip the next 2. We'll watch Nightmares. Here we go. After weathering the storm of the past 2 episodes, we get to the far more enjoyable Nightmares and Out of Sight, Out of Mind. While Nightmares doesn't really further the lore or the arc of the season, the Master's appearance in this episode feels almost posthumous. It does a lot of character building for each of the gang. It's an important, mostly enjoyable episode. Oh, that sounds mildly appropriate to this episode. Okay, there's the soundtrack for the opening. In Welcome to the Hellmouth, we found out part of what goes with the gig being the Slayer is dreaming about all the various nasties the Hellmouth spews out.
Well, perhaps you're right. Perhaps there is no trouble coming. The signs could be wrong. It's not as though you've been having the nightmares.
In the beginning of this episode, we see Buffy dreaming about fighting the Master and losing. At school later that day, a boy is coated in spiders, and Buffy sees a small child who apologizes for causing the problem. It's the one on the eyeball.
Sorry about that.
As the gang investigates the phenomena, incidents of embodied nightmares begin popping up all over town. Buffy shows up to a class she's been ditching all semester to find out it's test day. I'm 35 and I still get this dream. It's performance day. I'm 39 and I still get this dream. For Madame Butterfly, and Willow has the starring role but hasn't bothered to learn any of the lines. Interestingly, this is the beginning of the love duet in the opera. Here's the translation. In keeping with his outlook on life, Xander's nightmares are a bit more simple. The gang tracks the source of the phenomena to a boy that has been beaten into a coma, and by helping him to confront his own fear of the attacker who hit him, everything goes back to normal. I really love each dish this episode serves up, even though I don't think it necessarily holds together as a meal. It's the writer's take on A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I can't entirely say why it doesn't hold together for me. I think it's because the story about Billy feels a little flimsy and contrived, or at the very least unnecessary. Like in number 19, the monster's cartoonish baseball bat hand. Take the scene where Billy's attacker, the coach, comes in and introduces himself.
Oh, Billy's got company. I'm his kitty league coach. I come by here every day just hoping against hope that he's gonna wake up soon. He's my lucky 19. So, how is he?
Who talks like this, especially to a room full of strangers? I half expected him to say after Xander grabbed him, and I might have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids. And Buffy's exchange with Billy right after is positively cringeworthy.
It wasn't my fault. There's 8 other players on the team. You know that. Nice going.
I'm sorry for what happened to him, but I don't actually care about this kid or the coach. I care about Buffy, Xander, Willow, and Giles. This contrived excuse for them to live the nightmares could have been much simpler. There's a similar episode later in the series which amounts to a bunch of dream vignettes and is sublime. Thankfully, though, there's a lot to enjoy elsewhere in the episode. The manifestation of their inner fears is a great way.
That's weird. Nightmares is an interesting kind of precursor to Restless.
Of exploring our characters' wants and desires. This is the first episode that introduces Buffy's dad, and we find out that on some level, Buffy fears she may be responsible for her parents' divorce.
Just stop getting along. Sure, I was a really big help, though.
Her dad.
Season 1 is very much about Buffy accepting her destiny to be the Slayer, but we learn she fears that being the Slayer may have destroyed her family. In a scene I found almost so devastating as to be unwatchable, Buffy's fear is brought to life.
It was you. Having you.
I can't.
Raising you, seeing you every day.
Mary had a little lamb.
I actually hated her dad so much as a result of this scene that a part of me still rankled whenever he appeared in an episode for the rest of the series, even though this scene is for all intents and purposes a dream. Mostly Xander's nightmares are self-evident, save for one detail. I've mentioned that each of Buffy's friends have a symbolic relationship to her, and we haven't gone over them yet, but I find it incredibly interesting that Xander is the first one to turn around and face his fear. As for Giles, his nightmare is he loses the ability to read, and his inadequacy cost Buffy her life. As he stands over a grave and wonders what he could have done.
I never find anything interesting. I find it incredibly interesting that Xander was the first one to turn around and face her. No. It means something that Xander did that. I find lots of things interesting, but
differently, we see him continuing to slowly grow into the role of her surrogate father. It's not a perfect episode, but it works, and it's a welcome reprieve from the previous two. There's 2 more to go in the season. If you were a Sunnydale resident, what would be the nightmare you would find yourself in the middle of? I made a list of all the ones in this episode, and as a high-functioning neurotic,
Spider's test day and not having studied, mom embarrassing you in front of friends, being naked in front of class, losing the ability to read, hurting your family, frizzy hair, chess team, clowns, not knowing the lines to the play you're in, buried alive, becoming a monster, paralysis, and wasps. I'm very disappointed that I didn't fit something about erections or something into that list.
I'm batting nearly 500. Of course, the ones of mine that didn't make this list aren't fit for a channel I censor curse words from.
All right, we did it. Whoa, hello. Too fast. Scrolling backwards, just make sure I get everybody. Yes, skip those 2. It seemed like there was a vote for skip, and we're trying to wrap in 2.5 hours. So, no diggity. Passion in the Nerd. In Restless, when Xander seemed jealous, Giles was going to train Spike to be a watcher. I felt at the time that Xander would train to be a watcher. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I love the detail I love in that scene, too, is that he's wearing the Randy Giles suit in that scene, and it's sort of a precursor for things later on. The voiceover in these ones is noticeably different. Yeah, it's getting a little more enthusiastic. It's a little more clear. It's a little quicker, better pacing. The editing is getting a little better. I was working on it. Matthew Mann, I am back. Welcome back. T.S. Stevens. As much as you might not like Billy, what are your thoughts on Buffy doing some small potatoes, heroing and helping him? Well, I think that there's no such thing as small potatoes when it comes to calling and choice and meaning and all of that. The gift begins with Buffy wandering outside. There's a young man being chased, and Buffy goes out and it's one vampire. Glory's about to end the world, open a gate, do all of these things. It's one vampire. What about oh God, my knee or my leg? It's been a while since I found one that didn't know my name. You're just a girl. That's what I've been telling everyone. That scene is gorgeous and super effective and lovely. So from a storytelling standpoint, it's not the gravitas of the gravitas. It's not the gravity of the situation. It's what you say. It's the meaning that it's imbued with. So That's not my problem with Nightmares at all. And Nightmares is probably really broad anyway. It's not just about Billy, but that's not my issue with the episode. Aren't all the Master's appearances posthumous? Literally, most of them are, except the ones that involve Darla or henchmen, because those episodes are generally plot forwarding. But because the Master was sort of chained to the church in the story, he kind of suffers from that problem that I hate. Andrew Webb? I just realized how weird it must be for other students seeing Giles whispering into Buffy's ear at the Bronze of all places. I'm surprised that nobody started a rumor about them. Well, it was the late 90s. You know, things were very... No, they should have. Yeah, I agree. Calvin says, what does it mean? I'm assuming you're asking, what does Xander turning around in Nightmares and punching the clown in the face? Xander's the first one to turn around and face his nightmare and to attack it. And Xander is Buffy's strength or heart. And so, it's kind of symbolic that he's the first one to do that, and then she's ready to do it as well. Was what I was getting at with that little bit. Rather ham-handedly. What do you think of Juliet Landau playing Drusilla and her portrayal? I think Juliet Landau is spectacular. I love her performance. I love Drew. Which slip personality do you prefer the best? Jekyll and Hyde, Angel and Angelus. Split personality. It's a typo. Smeagol and Gollum, Norman Osborn and Green Goblin. I gotta slow you down a little bit, buddy. We've got a couple more videos to get through. Personally, of your list there, Angel and Angelus resonate the most for me. But I mean, sort of Jekyll and Hyde's the original, and the scene of Smeagol talking in the water to Gollum is pretty spectacular. So it's a tough pick, but it's sort of like the fiction that you're most personally dominated by that kind of makes that up. Posthumous, literally meaning after death, but if I'm explaining the joke, it failed. Let's move on to the next one. Out of sight, out of mind. We've got 2 left.
Easiest way to order custom stickers and more. Simply select the product you...
In case it wasn't painfully clear, the topic of the classroom session from each episode always relates thematically to the episode itself. In Out of Sight, Out of Mind, Cordelia and the Cool Clique make fun of Buffy's proclivity for weapons and odd behavior, which segues into the class discussion of the dialogue from Star Trek VI.
Tickle us, do we not like?
I've had many people say to me, that's from The Merchant of Venice. It's not from Star Trek VI. I know.
Prick us, do we not bleed? Wrong us, shall we not revenge?
Coolest class ever.
That's because it's about Star Trek. I don't think the audience knew me well enough at that point to realize how much I love Star Trek, so that's on me. But
Out of Mind is once again about the consequences in Sunnydale when cool kids are mean to uncool kids. The episode seems a bit divisive among fans. I've read more than a couple of comments on this channel from people who love it, and yet it has the same Internet Movie Database score as the Puppet.
I miss that website so much. Kev4matics, I loved including that in these, but it's down now.
Show.
I see chat popping. I'll get to comments as soon as we're done with this episode.
I fall on the side of meh. I think we've already covered this topic a bit more effectively in the pack. There are a couple of events key to the overall thread of the season, but once again, if you're new and don't feel like you have the bug yet, I think you might want to give this one a pass.
No idea what that music has to do with Out of Sight, Out of Mind. Kayla says, oh my god, this is still going on and you are drunk AF. It's still going on, and no to the second thing.
It's nearing the end of the school year at Sunnydale, and everyone is gearing up for the May Queen dance. While Cordelia is campaigning for the May Queen title, her boyfriend is attacked in the boys' locker room by someone giggling and invisible. The boyfriend is hurt, but not
dead. Of course not. Dead. What are you, ghouls? There are no dead students here.
This week.
The gang does some sleuthing.
That's one of my favorite Snyder lines.
It figures out the invisible attacker isn't a ghost, but a student that is turned invisible due to everyone ignoring her. Even Xander and Willow didn't remember her, and they signed her yearbook.
Have a nice...
Yeesh.
Where am I? Oh, have a great summer.
In much the same...
Jess and I have both been asked to sign stuff at cons, and we both want to sign stuff, have a nice summer, but we haven't been able to do it. It just feels too mean. But that is the signature, I think, to make. Have a great summer.
Same way Moloch thought small when he had unlimited access to the internet, Invisigirl has decided to stay local and take revenge on all the people at school who were mean to her. Why isn't she out robbing a bank or something?
The loneliness, the constant exile, she has gone mad.
Thanks, Giles. Anyway, Angel makes an appearance and tells Giles he can get a very important archive regarding the Slayer, and the gang figures out the Invisigirl's primary target is Cordelia. As Buffy is protecting her, we get the one very significant moment in this episode.
You think I'm never lonely because I'm so cute and popular?
To recount, the role of Slayer itself is the show's metaphor for adulthood. I've suggested that the purpose of Season 1 is for Buffy to accept her role as the Slayer. I've also suggested that Cordelia represents Buffy's path not taken. Cordelia is what Buffy's life would have been without being chosen. In that sense, then, Cordelia is Buffy's adolescence, and the Slayer is her adulthood. And in this episode, we see Buffy pining for what she's lost. Sure, she has Xander and Willow, but we see in this episode she still feels like an outsider to them, and as we've talked about before, she ultimately always will be due to the responsibility of her superpowers. She can't then grow until she's able to put her desire for what Cordelia has to rest, which is why the scene then occurs where Cordelia tells Buffy that just because she's popular doesn't mean she isn't lonely. Having everything that Buffy thinks she wants doesn't make life any better or worse. Sure, the scene is a ray of light through the normally tedious and vapid cloud that is Cordelia, and this later sets the stage for her more interesting role in Season 2, but it's mostly there to allow Buffy the opportunity to relinquish her desire for a life other than her own. At which point, Buffy and Cordelia are grabbed by Invisigirl for the final confrontation. Buffy breaks loose and, in keeping with the metaphor, has to tell Cordelia to shut up in order to use her Slayer sense to win the day.
This shot is kind of gorgeous. I love the composition. I love it. And actually in the HD remaster, this is also a very, very pretty shot. I love how they backlit her. It's awesome. I have very few feelings about this episode one way or another. It's a little where the wild things are for me, but this, I always remember this shot.
Cordelia, shut up.
Angel brings Giles the Codex, and in the process saves the rest of the gang from getting gassed. Invisigirl is then carted off by government agents, and the episode ends with a tease that, similarly to the eggs hatching at the end of Teacher's Pet, gets completely dropped. Though it is worth noting that the government is aware of the supernatural in Sunnydale. As much as I appreciate the clever way the plot informs Buffy's character, I mostly found Scorned Invisigirl's episode a bit tedious. It's Carrie. It's a time-honored traditional high school horror topic that's been done better, including already in this season. The Pack was about high school cruelty, but the episode was much more relevant and effective because it was concerned with Willow and Xander, not another out-of-left-field character we don't really care about. And just like Nightmares, the plot is overburdened and unnecessarily complex. There are many interesting ideas here, but for me, the main plot lacks the subtlety of the details and can't hold it all together.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about that one. Cordy is a boss bitch and I love her. I agree, and I think Cordy would agree too. Based on Room with a View. Scrolling back slightly, make sure Raphael, least favorite type of wine, dry wines. Not my thing. I like fruity, puckery, or Chardonnay. Durjogel says, have to go to sleep in a few hours. Gonna catch the rest of the stream later. Thanks for everything. Cheers for 4 years. Awesome and days to come. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. I am so excited for September and full-time YouTube channel and to see where things go. Flesh says, out of mind, out of sight, exclamation point. I assume that's because I said it wrong and said out of sight, out of mind, which is the George Clooney movie and not this episode. If so, I apologize, brother. Matthew Mann, my bad. Sometimes my typing and spelling get slandered. Okay. You haven't read Shakespeare until you've read it in the original Klingon. I mean Star Trek, says Boris. Raphael says, how dare you? I don't know why. No diggity. Star Trek, Battlestar, Stargate, or is Star Trek? Star Trek. Would you say Angel and Angela Spike are the equivalents of Luis and Lestat? I don't know the last two well enough to answer that question. Sorry, brother. Could you honestly imagine Eminem playing Spike? No, that's a very random question. And Matthew, again, if you were a vampire, what would be your blood choice human animal? Well, it depends on if I'm evil or not. If I'm good, no, I don't know. Sorry, brother. Chardonnay, more like Hardonnay. Rachel, you and Jess should hang out. That's her kind of joke. Raven, Riscotto is a good dessert wine. It's surprisingly sweet for a Merlot. Oh, I'll try it. Raven Steele, if I ever run into you at a con, please sign everything in mine. Have a nice summer. Hopefully my copy of Mark Field's book. Mark and I have talked about it. So I've had people actually ask me to sign his book, and I've said no. Which is why there exists on the Patreon a bonus where I think it's $25, and I'll annotate, add all my thoughts about a script, and then sign it at the bottom. But it just feels too weird, and given the way the channel started, it just feels where I had to sort of apologize. It was plagiarism. And I had to sort of kind of apologize to him up front, and Mark being Mark, he's just like, no, I'm more interested in people watching Buffy. So you do you, and you figure it out. And I did. But I will sign anything else you want. Have a great summer. And so will Jess. Raven, Raphael Lemus, how far would the show have gotten with Charisma as Buffy and Riff Regan as well? No. Charisma's great at Cordy. She is Cordy. She's not Buffy. Would you consider looking at Star Trek episodes? There will be a Next Generation episode guide on this channel at some point. Flesh says, yeah, you said out of sight, out of mind several times, and I believe your title card says it too. Yes, I fixed the video title, but I can't actually re-edit the videos, so that error is there forever. Sorry, brother. Matthew, Luis and Lestat are characters from Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. Oh, yes. I've only seen the movie, brother, so again, the comparison is a little challenging for me. TSS Stevens, quickly, what are your thoughts, if any, on the Faith Eliza Dushku starred and directed Dollhouse? I'm withholding judgment. A friend of mine, her name's Autumn, she will go unnamed, for this stream, shared with me a bunch of thoughts that made me much more interested in the Dollhouse she saw than the Dollhouse I saw. And usually that means that there's more for me to get out of it. There's certain biases and stuff that were probably blocking my experience. So I'm going to rewatch it and see. I enjoyed it. I think there's way more challenging or questionable things in that. I don't know that, especially the men, other than the lead handler, I can't remember his name. I think he's wonderful. But I just don't think the acting, I don't know. I say I'm not going to dump on it, and then I dump on it. So I'm withholding judgment. Miriam, whose character development did you enjoy more, Cordy or Wesley? Wesley. Cordy's is probably more intricate and sort of Wesley's is broad strokes, and Cordy's, I think, is very intricate, and there's lots of details, and it's gorgeous and well developed. And then season 4, which that's a part of it. We can't do that. Matthew, Christina Hendricks is Willow Rosenberg? No. No, that would have been a weird mix. Defrosted says Topher was awesome. Defrosted, Boris, yes, Topher was great. I still have an issue with some of the acting in that show. But this isn't a guide. I'm not officially speaking here. Who is this? This is all a dream. All right, let's watch the last video. Prophecy Girl. I'm starting to be a little too bubbly, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. So there's an issue with this episode guide immediately. It's not really an issue. So when I made Why You Should Watch Buffy, the idea of finishing 12 episodes of the guide, it was unfathomable to me. I could not. I was like, there's no way I'm making it. I have personally dealt with a lot of stuff in the last 5 years. A lot of it's reflected in the guide, but part of that is the creating a mountain that you're saying, I'm going to go climb that one, and then going and doing it was something that I personally had not experienced. Something I had not created for myself, something I had not done. As a young man, I was, I kind of got by on my intellect and kindness, I guess, charm, if that word applies. There's got to be some gradient scale where that doesn't maximize at that. So that's been one of the things about the episode guide is like it's I didn't understand as a young man that passion is at least partially defined by the work you're willing to do when it isn't fun. And so I, for a long time, thought I just hadn't figured out what I wanted to do or my passion. And if I tried to do something and it was too hard, well then no, that must not mean I'm not interested in it or whatever the thing may be. But for me, the video guide has been one of the first times where I've said, I don't care how hard this is. I'm just going to do it all the time. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do the work. And it goes very slowly sometimes, where there are weeks between videos, but the next video will come out. And that is one of the things that has changed my life about the guide. And that's one of the things that we're celebrating, 4 years today. This is the anniversary of Why You Should Watch Buffy. But at the time when I made Prophecy Girl, 12 videos was unfathomable. I was so excited that by the time I'd gotten to this, that the opening of this is sort of a celebration. And it's a poorly executed one because I could have added titles to the bottom to make it clear what was actually going on. But the first 90 seconds of this are pure self-indulgence because I'm like, oh my God, I made it to the end of Buffy Season 1. And yesterday I published Superstar. So, anyway, that's the opening of this.
Corners her, abuses her, and she's totally fine with it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, on the other hand, is about a girl with superpowers who punches people in the face. All in all, it's not a terrible start. There are some rough edges. The Master's Cave looks like a leftover set from a Meatloaf video. The opening is hilarious.
Also, I think this is the first of 4 times Blue Danube occurs.
Had the episode occurred in later seasons, it might have turned into a scathing critique of conformity, or a soul-searching exercise in the value of responsibility. The bug itself sort of breaks the rules of the show's own universe. A giant praying mantis, they never fight a giant squirrel or a giant Persian.
Also, every live stream decays into my impression of Matthew McConaughey. Oh, so we got quite a Buffy here. This is going to be a good episode.
Cat. It's like the writers just picked from a grab bag of random traits and pulled one each from Neckbeard, Goth, and Jock. He's also kind of a douche, and the pack attacks and eats him. Yes, the possessed students eat Principal Flutie. Angel confesses that he wanted to kill Buffy tonight, but I believe that's the impulse of the demon in him, and I think that he does too. He's attempting suicide by cop. Wait, is she? Is this the first episode she's in? Oh, son of a bitch! I love Snyder. He's one of my favorite ancillary characters in the early seasons of the show.
Kids. I don't like them.
I made a list of all the ones in this episode, and as a high-functioning neurotic, I'm batting nearly 500. But it's mostly there to allow Buffy the opportunity to relinquish her desire for a life other than her own. At which point, Buffy and Cordelia are grabbed by Invisigirl for the final confrontation. Buffy breaks loose.
All right. Ah, what a tease! I'm the worst editor ever. And it's so slow. God, the pacing. Come on, Ian.
Giles discovers a prophecy in the Codex Angel got him, and an earthquake gets the Master doing his happy dance. The next day, Giles is obviously shaken and sleep-deprived.
How you doing there, Giles?
So, originally, too, I mean, and the first season episode guides are cursed with this. Doing this kind of work, you will inevitably run into copyright flagging, copyright trolling, and I read all manner of things. At this point, the guide was already running into it every single time. I never re-edited a video. I never deleted a video because it got flagged. I never, okay, I'll pull this stuff out or whatever. I just sort of got paralyzed with fear, did a ton of research, and decided, like, okay, I know what fair use is. And these are fair use. But I did try and, so there's the manual flags and there's YouTube's Content ID system, which is an algorithm that's scanning all of your stuff. And one of the things I read was if you reverse the image, then it will, not be flagged by Content ID. So a number of these first season videos have the reverse credits. It's annoying, and I don't like it either, but that was why it was there. The thing I learned is that that doesn't beat the Content ID system. And what ultimately, I don't get Content ID flags anymore for Buffy. Only manual flags. And I think that's because I argued every single one of them. And at some point, YouTube's copyright flagging system has like a skunk or a trump card or a trump. I hate that word now. A point where they don't flag you anymore for the same thing over and over again because clearly your channel is doing a certain kind of thing. But anyway, that's the reason for the reverse credits.
Much sleep last night?
I kind of love the way he says Buffy's name when she comes in.
Buffy.
Anthony Stewart Head just exudes this kind of patriarchal concern. Buffy and Xander find a moment alone, and oh my god, do I identify with this scene.
I still identify with this scene.
Out on a date. The stomach-clenching terror, the forced casualness as you stand in the doorway of the airplane and prepare to hurl yourself out into space, not sure if you'll find a parachute on your back.
So there's an example of me screwing up the forced casualness as you stand in the door of the airplane and force yourself to hurl yourself. I was going for some. I just wish I'd done another take.
Throw yourself out into space, not sure if you'll find a parachute on your back or not, and the sense of free fall when the other person says they're not interested.
Xander, you're one of my best friends.
I actually die a little bit every time I watch this scene. Pro tip, everyone. Xander did entirely the right thing in asking her. If you're interested, you ask. But the measure of your class isn't in the asking, it's in the handling of rejection. You don't beg.
I just don't think of you that way.
We'll try.
And you don't lash out at the person who was just trying to let you down gently.
And I guess the guy's got to be undead to make time with you.
Come on, man! It's a beautiful scene in the midst of this high school horror show, and Nicholas Brendon and Sarah Michelle Gellar pull off both parts of the awkward conversation easily. As he tumbles into the teenage abyss of rejection, Xander tries to grab onto Willow.
Yeah, I know what we'll do.
We can go.
Be my date. We'll have a great time. We'll dance. We'll go wild.
No.
What do you say?
No.
But despite her obvious crush on him, she refuses to be his backup option. It reminds me a lot of the scene from The Pack where Willow baited evil Xander into revealing himself. Every once in a while we get a peek at something in Willow beneath the veneer of nerdy awkwardness. Also, Xander's summary of events gives us an important detail as to the way he sees and handles things.
Well, what'd she say?
Apart from no, does it really matter?
Yes! Yes, it does, Xander. It matters a lot.
She's still jonesing for Angel. Can care less about me.
This is...
Think about how much time is devoted in the penultimate episode of the season where the world's going to end and the Master's coming back to these relationships. Oh, I love it so much. And I love his flaws and I love the errors. And I get frustrated with him because I've experienced that myself. And I have friends who deal with people who hang out with them as friends to try and get them to date them. And when it doesn't work, they sort of back off or whatever. And Xander doesn't do that, and he sort of deals with his own... I really love that scene in Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered where Xander's hanging out with Buffy in the graveyard. And he's showing her the locket that he's going to give Cordelia. And Cordelia says, "Are you sure she knows what one of these are?" Or Cordelia, Buffy says, "Are you sure she knows what one of these are?" Yeah, haha. And Xander says, "Well, the people that I am interested in are unavailable." And it's an acknowledgement of their attraction and certain things, certain switches you can't flip off in your head, but he still shows up as a friend. Problematically in certain parts, Amy, if you're there, but it's so real. I love that section so much.
It's an incredibly important insight into Xander. His ego can't accept that Buffy just isn't interested in him. It's easier to have a target for his pain rather than accepting it and facing it himself. So he makes Angel the target of his aggression. Despite the fact that Buffy never said a thing about Angel, and they haven't actually seen each other socially since episode 7. After Buffy sees a sink pouring blood, she heads to the library and catches Giles telling Angel about the prophecy he deciphered earlier.
But it's very plain. Tomorrow night, Buffy will face the Master, and she will die.
It was in this...
Still one of my top five scenes on Buffy. This one.
Scene, my favorite in season 1, and probably one of my favorites in the series, that something dawned on me.
To say how he's gonna kill me? It'll hurt.
But I have to keep on. Amy, I'm so glad you're here. That's why I threw that out there. Amy says, "I don't give him any slack for the trauma he's been through being a son of an alcoholic." We will talk about that later. I just appreciate the fact that you're here and heard that call out.
She's a kid!
She's a kid!
Because I'm 16 years old. I don't want to die.
Until this moment in the show, I never really realized the ghastly nature of the Slayer mythology. One girl in all the world. The day Buffy became the Slayer and was gifted the powers was the day another Slayer was murdered. Some woman who we never meet. And Buffy begins the fight again. In a broad sense, then, it's
I'm actually fine with that flash forward because you can't tell it's Spike.
almost like the Slayers are sacrifices to stave off the darkness. And in this scene, we see the real and tragic consequences of it in the fear in Buffy's face. However the Slayer line was created, there's almost a subtle evil to it all. To me, this scene and the...
Another thing I did in my writing early on was I always undercut my own voice. And then I started to notice it, and that's a very significant one right there. There's almost... what was it?
Created, there's almost a subtle evil to it all.
There's almost a subtle evil to it all. It's not almost and it's not subtle. There is evil at the core of the Slayer creation. The Slayer is a sacrifice to stave off evil. That is true. It's not almost and it's not subtle. And that's I watched that line specifically in this one of the most important episodes in one of my favorite scenes. It taught me to, and I still do it. But that gets me about this video every time was neutering your own voice for fear of being wrong. I mean, so much fear is just fear of failure, and in creating anything or making something and putting it out for public consumption is constant fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of disagreement, fear of whatever it is, and it's a lesson I'm still learning. Where, I was talking about what wild at heart means to me. The one comment, you sound like a fucking neckbeard, among 200 effusive, beautiful comments from people who got something out of what I was trying to say. It's so hard. I mean, it's just so hard. But I guess that's the journey of creating something or making things, is to overcome or to find the confidence of your own voice. And I didn't have it there, and that always stands out to me.
However the Slayer line was created, there's almost a subtle evil to it all. To me, this scene and the episode to this point represent the beginning of a shift in the series. From being a clever show about monsters in high school to being a show about characters with hearts and souls, and the consequences these horrifying situations have on their lives. Buffy says she quits and storms off. She tries to convince Joyce to leave Sunnydale with her, who refuses and mistakes her anxiety as having to do with the dance. And in a scene I still find confusing, Willow and Cordelia discover a massacre at the school. So wait, Cordelia's boyfriend didn't show up at the Bronze last night, presumably because he and his friends were being butchered by vampires on the couch while watching television. But the vampires probably couldn't get to the school until it was dark. And wait, weren't Buffy, Giles, and Angel at the school last night when it was already dark? Then again, maybe the vampires brought the bodies back to the school and dumped them there? I don't know. I think it's because the episode to this point was handled so expertly that I find...
Another thing that bugs me is this is such an obvious visual symbol. The bloody handprint on the child's cartoon, and I didn't call it, but it's so
find this scene jarring and out of place. It really exists only to get us to the moment when a disturbed Willow puts Buffy in touch with the importance of being the Slayer. Throughout this season, we've watched Buffy torn between the life she's wanted and the life of the Slayer that has been thrust on her, two worlds in opposition to each other, and it is in this scene that she comes to accept that without her, the world she wants to live in will be lost anyway.
It wasn't our world anymore. They made it theirs.
She decides to sacrifice herself for the good of the people she cares about. The Master sends the Anointed One to fulfill the prophecy, and Giles tells Jenny Calendar the plan has changed.
Buffy's not going to face the Master.
I am.
To which Buffy replies,
boot to the head.
Buffy leaves the school, and the Annoying One is waiting for her. He leads her down to the Master, and the Master reveals a tricky little thing about the prophecy.
You're the one that sets me free. If you hadn't come, I couldn't go.
Xander goes to get help in order to save Buffy. Cordelia comes to the aid of the rest of the gang as a very 80s monster comes out of the open Hellmouth in the library. Xander and Angel find Buffy not breathing in a pool of water.
CPR. You have to do it. I have no breath.
This is a rather inconsistent semantic point in the universe. More on that later on. Anyway, Xander resuscitates Buffy as the gang fights off the puppet slime demon. And love it or hate it, the theme music invades an episode for the only time during the entire series. I think the music signifies that she has totally committed to her destiny. She has become the embodiment of what the...
I think also is another way of undercutting your own voice. I think the... music signify, sometimes it's appropriate, and also it works as a form of pacing. I think that the thing that they're really talking about here is so on and so forth. But this is a review. This is an analysis. This is the idea that people are here listening to my voice is already accepted. So I think is redundant. So again, I'm just talking about lessons I've learned from these videos.
Credits and opening of every episode say she is. She died. She sacrificed herself. There's no greater sign of commitment to destiny. Which is why when she wakes up and Xander asks if she's okay, she says,
No, I feel strong.
Within the metaphor of the show, she has now committed to growing up. She has a long way to go, but this episode puts her on the path. It's not really a coincidence that the Anointed One was a child. Anointed One is another word for chosen one, and in that sense, he was a symbol for Buffy's alternate fate had she not chosen her destiny. Perpetual childhood. Buffy faces off against the Master, tosses him onto a stake, he goes all skeletal, and Season 1 is in the books. Prophecy Girl is the best Season 1 has to offer, and I'd probably put it in my personal top 15 episodes. There's just something about Whedon-written episodes. The dialogue crackles more. It's the first time the show seems aware that the human drama amidst these fantastic events is what's interesting, not the events themselves. This low-budget television show can't really offer a spectacle necessary to make giant bugs and killer puppets interesting by themselves, but it can give us fantastic characters to identify with and root for as they struggle against these things. As much as I think Season 1 is my least favorite, I'm most partial to the problematic Season 6. There's no denying that it's tightly scripted and stays very close to its purpose. Very few things happen without a reason. From Sid, the dummy who sacrifices his own life to kill the demon-seeking perpetual youth, to Billy, the child stuck in ghostly youth because he can't be brought to face his own fears. Still, it's Season 2 where the show really finds its legs. When I first watched Buffy, Prophecy Girl was the ray of light revealing what the show could be, but Season 2 is where the show sunk in its hooks and became a fiction for me that I treasure and love. That's it, friends. The end of the first season episode guide. I'm going to take a break for a couple of weeks to work on some other projects, but I love making these, and we'll be back soon with the Season 2 video guide and episode guide for When She Was Bad. I'll see you then.
Oh, we did it! That's the first season. Wow. So August to is that August to November 2014? That was a lot of fun. I love sharing that with you guys. Maybe for the 5-year, we do Season 2 or half of Season 2 because that's a lot of episodes to watch in one sitting. Especially when they get long. Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, 2014. Huh. Well, the views on this are kind of indiscriminate. So this was when I was actually informing people when I was going to miss a week, until everyone had such low expectations of my actual release schedule.
One in my dreams, the pain in my chest, my make-believe, my soulmate. Hey, baby, you believe in fate? Day after day, it's the same old tune. I'm not bored, I just wanna believe.
Yeah, that was I actually stuck to a weekly release schedule. Of course, 3-minute videos are much easier than 10-minute videos every week, but those are all excuses, aren't they? Out of sight. Oh, there's the channel 2. I'm just looking at the other stuff. I'll jump on questions here just 1 second. Yeah, so August 19th. 4 years. We did it, friends. All right. Let me jump back in chat. Who wrote this? Nobody said penultimate. Wow, there was a lot of chat in that one bit. Was that maybe the opening music from The Mentalists? I think you're talking about Debussy, and Debussy got there first. Blue Danube will forever be music to dock space stations too. I agree. TSS Stevens says Doug Walker, nostalgia critic, absolutely trolled the copyright issue. Mad Max, Jurassic World, Ghostbusters. What are your thoughts? I have several videos about my copyright struggles. It's just not a fun topic to get into, but there are, look up copyright loophole on my channel, where I go into great detail about it. Miss Cunning Linguistic says, fun fact, your video on Wild at Heart made me actually take the plunge and ask out a girl I've been interested in for a long time. I was immediately rejected. Still, fuck it. Well, that's that thing that I'm struggling with constantly. and have overcome in certain areas. But the video I want to publish on September 2nd, called The Toolbox Fallacy, which is based on a Medium article I wrote, is how everything gets back to fear of failure, 100%. And in creation, there's fear of failure constantly. Every video I put up, there's fear of, maybe I don't have anything to say about this one, maybe I'm a fraud, maybe I've tricked people, so on and so forth. Relationships, it permeates everything, and it's because we've at some point we were taught to demonize our mistakes, as opposed to sort of embrace life as an experiment. So, good job asking. That's all that matters. Who wrote this? Nobody says penultimate. Boris, how dare you? No diggity. I think seeing Xander here gives insight into why Xander left Anya. He knows that angry resentment from his alcoholic father is in him always. Sure. The issue with Xander's arc in the show is that it's never actually grappled with. The abuse that's indicated in Restless and in Hell's Bells and so forth is, I think, for a lot of people, stuff that echoes throughout the next couple of decades. And, you just don't resolve that by 21. You don't. So Xander's arc always felt incomplete to me. There's Hell's Bells, and he and Anya sort of find an accord, and Anya sort of finds her own peace in that conversation with Andrew in the hospital. But Xander never quite gets there. And it shouldn't. Honestly, it shouldn't. For the issues and the problems, the weight they gave his damage, that's an unfair term. Otherwise, I definitely have to self-apply that and apply that to a whole bunch of other people. But we're all damaged. I mean, we're all mending scars, and he's not going to resolve that by the end of the series. And so, to some degree, his arc feels incomplete to me. Just saying. March in Noir 44. I'm about to dissect season 5 for myself. What episode should I keep an eye on? Please and thank you for your response. So, season 5 is all about split personality and twins. Anytime someone is split or twins or something of that nature occurs, it's significant. That's all I'm going to say about that. Raphael, dude, Ian, fuck him. I assume you're talking about haters that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, I wish I had that armor where it just sort of easily came to me, but it has come through. There's not a natural confidence. It's something that's I had to build and work towards, and just understand that, my dad regularly told me that tells me that a life of service is the most value that we can is the greatest contribution we can make in life, or rather, a life of service is the ultimate ambition, which is very altruistic, of course. But I've never found a way to be of service as much as I have making this video content. So that's the thing that pulls me forward and has me go, that guy just doesn't like my stuff. All good. Admirable Merriweather says, I like that you spontaneously start calling him the annoying one. No diggity. I hope Spike gets a knockout counter in season 5. That's interesting. I'll think about it. It's not as ubiquitous as Giles's, so might be a bit of a challenge. Raphael, yeah, it's your video. It's already in your own voice. Just say the thing. I agree. Dun Sample says, I've always interpreted the I have no breath line as Angel just being too embarrassed to admit that he never learned CPR. There are other references to choking. As Angel tries to choke out Darla in season 3 of Angel, and she mentions she can't breathe, so you can't choke her to death. And yet, Spike chokes out Drusilla in Becoming Part 2. So it's just inconsistent. There are some that say they have no breath and it's not possible, and so forth. Sozu says, fan canon, that's the term I was looking for earlier with the earshot stuff. Fan canon that's generally accepted for I have no breath is my breath cannot give life. Interesting. But ultimately, big mistake on the writer's part. Well, they had a focus, and it wasn't on the uniformity of the lore, as I've learned, or rather been brought face to butt with in Superstar. Are you going to release a Why You Should Watch Star Trek video? I've never seen. Yes, absolutely. Any show that I do an episode guide for, there will be a Why You Should Watch. And so, off the top of my head, that's Firefly, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Star Trek: The Next Generation. He's cutting out. Yeah, but their blood doesn't flow, Jack, because their hearts don't pump. So, same thing. Monster, we should chat about it on Discord. Yeah, just for a note, there is a Discord server. It's listed on the Twitter, and Jack's going to put it in chat for us in just a minute here. But I think we're done. Are we done? 2 hours and 45 minutes, and there's still quite a number of you here. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out. I had no idea how long that one was going to go. We did skip 2 episodes, and I apologize for those who are interested. So in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing the I Quit My Job and Go Full-Time YouTuber Bad Decisions live stream. I'll have that information up on Twitter. And we're aiming for 3 videos this week. And I think that's all. Next weekend is the Patreon stream, or rather the Patreon Google Hangout. That's it. 4 years. I mean, I guess I should end just by saying thank you. I never had any idea that Why You Should Watch Buffy would turn into this. It has been extraordinary. I've gotten to know you guys. I've gotten to know many of you digitally, but personally, it has altered the trajectory of my life. It has helped me understand what The Rock truly is. And I'm grateful. So thank you. And I have no idea how full-time is going to go, and because of copyright and all of that, I have learned not to guess. It's enough to go and get The Rock and make the next video. So I guess I'll just go do that. So thank you, everyone, so much for hanging out. Cheers. Happy anniversary. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks on the Bad Decisions live stream. Cheers.